is called Zone Haven, and we need you to know your zone.
In order to know your zone, you need to go to community.zonehaven.com, type in your address. Once your address populates in the pop-up window, take that information and write down the zone that is given to you where you know you'll find it in case of emergency.
Zone Haven and knowing your zone does not replace Nixle and/or Code Red. It actually supplements them, and it makes those tools more powerful because you'll know what zones are being evacuated or which ones are being placed on advisory. And as a result, you won't have to do anything else other than listen to those messages and know if it's time to go.
Even if you don't have internet, this could be done by word of mouth, it can be done by radio, or it could be us driving down the street, so please know your zone.
From Truckee to Lake of the Pines, from Chicago Park to Spenceville, every single square mile of Nevada County has a zone. And having a zone that you know for your neighborhood is going to help you save time to be able to evacuate and keep you and your family safe.
Ready Nevada County is an education campaign designed to help the public have successful outcomes during emergency events. We really focus on a whole host of disasters or emergency events. We want to have a broad spectrum. We want to be prepared for anything, but really we focus a lot on wildfire because we know that's one of the most likely events to happen in Nevada County.
Ready, Set, Go is really built around the wildfire premise to prepare residents to be ready before an event, to move into the set posture when there's a red flag or a fire is near you, and then to go when it's time to go.
Essentially, in its simplest form, it's a three-tiered community emergency preparedness plan.
I have lived in this house, which we built, my husband and I, 26 years ago now, actually. We selected the hardy plank, the concrete siding, and also the metal roof. Then when we moved up here and heard about the 49er fire, that's when we started to say, wow, this really is even more important than we first realized.
So the 49er fire is one of the most historic fires in Nevada County's history. They figured it changed the laws of the state of California that said this is how you have to protect your home. That came out of Nevada County.
Steve Eubanks came from the Fire Safe Council, and the main thing we needed to pay attention to was the ladder fuels. Planting has been removed from the edges of the house so that it does not touch the house. It was an incredible service from the Fire Safe Council to come out and spend a couple of hours going through this property.
So the ready phase is when there's no immediate threat to you and your family. This is the time when you should be doing education and planning, whether that be training, educating yourself, or accumulating equipment, hardening your home, creating defensible space.
Defensible space is really all about creating a buffer zone between your house and flammable vegetation. We really focus on defensible space around the home, that first 100 feet, but also around the roadway too. Another aspect of the ready phase is hardening the home, and really what that means is making your home more resilient to wildfire.
That's going to be putting the fine-grained mesh around the vents of your home so that embers won't get under your house or into the eaves of your house. That's going to be using non-combustible materials on your deck and around your home, so when an ember storm comes through, it's not going to ignite your home itself.
I currently live here in Grass Valley with my parents. All of us have sleep apnea, so we all have CPAP machines that require power in order to run.
I also use a nebulizer, and that's used to disperse medication that I need to get myself breathing again. When we have safety shutoffs, we have to hook up our equipment.
All right, good morning. I'm calling this meeting to order. I am sitting in as chair for Supervisor Bullock today. He's ill, did not want to miss the items, so some of the items this afternoon. So I'll be chair today. And let's go to the pledge. Dave Garcia, would you lead us through the pledge? All right, thank you. Teen, do we have any corrections or deletions to the agenda today?
Vice Chair Hall, we do. Agenda item number 27, which is SR 24-1569, has been removed from consideration. The public hearing regarding the proposed tiny homes on wheels ordinance was scheduled for this afternoon at 1:30. It has been canceled and tentatively rescheduled for January 14th. The public hearing will be renoticed as we get closer to that date.
Thank you. Are any other additions or deletions?
No other corrections.
Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that to be very clear for anyone listening in or in the room. The 1:30 item on tiny homes has been canceled for today and rescheduled for January. So now we're going to go on to the consent calendar. These items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. We'll act upon them at one time without discussion. Any board member may request that an item be removed, and members of the public wishing to ask questions or hear discussion on items listed under the consent agenda may now raise their concerns to the board members. We will take these concerns under consideration and decide if there's adequate reason to remove them from consent. So the consent calendar today are items 1 through 20. If there's any callers who want to call in and provide comments on these items, they should call in now. And is there any public comment on the consent calendar? Any phone calls had happened in that short minute, Madam Clerk?
Vice Chair, we have no callers currently.
Okay, thank you. Then I'm going to close the public comment for consent. Any board members wish to pull any items? Nope.
I move for approval, Madam Chair.
Okay, motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Please, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
District 2?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
And District 5 is absent.
Thank you. That item has been concluded, and we are now going to general public comment. Again, reminder to the public people who want to call in to do so now. Usually takes a minute to get you set up. Members of the public should be allowed to address the Board of Supervisors on items not appearing on today's agenda that are of interest to the public. Speakers are encouraged but not required to give their name and district of residence. Please direct your comments to the board, not the audience or staff, and no individual may speak more than once during general public comment. We'll give you 3 minutes, after which the microphone will be automatically turned off. In the interest of civil discourse, it is responsibility of the chair to ensure public comments are conducted in such a manner that avoids disruptive activity, promotes mutual respect, keeps comments focused on the issues, and avoids personal attack. You may provide comments by speaking directly to the board from the chambers or calling 530-270-3474 to comment live over the phone. So let's go ahead and open public comment. Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Shirley Osgood, and I'm from District 3. And I haven't been here for a while, and I was reminded that I need to get myself over here. I'm here to ask for the Board of Supervisors to put a ceasefire resolution on the agenda regarding the war on Gaza. And I'm sure you all are aware of what's going on over there and how many tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of civilians have been killed, including women and children, a large percentage of women and children. I've gotten to the point where I believe it's not just the duty of every individual, but of every group anybody who can say anything, we are witnessing a genocide. To be silent is not okay with me. And I'm wondering if you're willing to remain silent when children are being buried alive under bombed buildings or trying to dig their parents out from under bombed buildings, when children are being shot in the street, when children are being burned to death in their tents, when children are dying because their medical equipment is destroyed by Israeli bombs, when children are starving, when children are being dismembered, and when children are being permanently, psychologically tortured. So I'm asking you, please, I believe it's time, way past time, for every group that has any kind of say, for every individual to stand up and say it's time to stop the genocide. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley.
Hi,
Go
I'm
ahead.
Ann Johnson, and I want to support what Shirley is saying here about the need for us to speak up, speak out with any voice that we have to address this horrific situation happening in Gaza to the Palestinian people. I would like to read to you the items that Shirley and others, a group of people, have come up with, representing the Nevada County Coalition for Human Rights in Palestine, the Peace and Justice Center of Nevada County, and Nevada County Sunrise, people who have got together and come up with a list of things that we would like to see on the resolution that we're hoping you will write. An immediate and sustained ceasefire in Palestine. An unhindered passage of all humanitarian aid into Gaza. An end of U.S. military aid to Gaza. That's so painful for me as a taxpayer, knowing that a portion of my tax money is going toward the building and selling of bombs to Israel, who is using those bombs to commit a genocide. Also, we'd like you to include condemnation of Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and all acts of hatred. And finally, a declaration that the County of Nevada, California, stands united against genocide. So I hope and pray that you will take into consideration our request for you to put on your agenda a discussion, at least start with a discussion, to see whether or not a resolution could be written from Nevada County stating that what's happening in Gaza is inhumane and needs to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Good morning. My name is Jeffrey Gottesman, and I'm a Nevada City resident, District 1. And I'm here on behalf of the Peace and Justice Center of Nevada County, as well as Jewish Voice for Peace, to ask you to please put a resolution for a weapons embargo on your, up for discussion at the Board of Supervisors. And the reason that we're coming to you for this is because, as we prepare for our Thanksgiving feasts this week and with our families in our nice warm houses, the weapons that our country is sending to Israel is causing hundreds of thousands of deaths of civilians in Gaza as part of a plan to ethnically cleanse the entire area of Palestine and Israel. And that as long as we keep sending those weapons, Israel, because of their political realities, is going, and their coalitions are going to be forced to continue the genocide that they are currently carrying out. We're in the midst of a crime wave. And the crime wave is that we have a law, and the law says that any country that, this is a federal law, it says that any country that is preventing the flow of humanitarian aid coming from this country must stop receiving weapons from us. 19 brave senators voted to enforce that law and cut off the $20 billion shipment of arms that's currently up in the Senate. But the other senators are too cowed by the tremendous volume of campaign contributions that the Israel lobby has come up with. And if we're expecting President Trump to do anything different, please remember that he received a $100 million campaign contribution from Mrs. Adelson, whose the price of which was to annex the whole area of Palestine for Israel. So we need you to speak up. We need you to put an advisory resolution.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Good morning. My name's Don Fraser. I now reside in District 1. A friend of mine has been corresponding with a woman in Gaza, and I'd like to read the translation of the recent letter she received. I am Haneen, 31 years old, from Palestine, Gaza. My family consists of 7 people, myself and my husband, Sarah, 9 years old, Alma, 11 years old, Saeed, 7 years old, Wissam, 3 years old, and my very ill mother, who is 75 years old. The war came to change my beautiful features. We used to live a simple and quiet life. My husband started a small chicken farm for us to live on. But the bombing completely destroyed our source of livelihood, and he suffered from a psychological condition and severe depression because of it. Our house was completely destroyed. We became homeless. We were displaced several times, and each time we lost our possessions and things that helped us live. All that remained with me were the memories. Winter comes upon us now to remind us of the harshness of displacement even more. There are no winter clothes to keep us warm, no tent to protect us from the cold, no money to buy medicine for my mother and my son Saeed, who suffers from severe visual impairment in his eyes. We appeal to your merciful hearts to help alleviate our suffering. This is not all, but it is difficult to describe the reality in front of us. Since the beginning of the war, the suffering has not ended. The pain and anxiety have not ended. The waiting has not ended. The waiting has become despondent. How many attempts to get out of a state of depression have failed? My suffering began beyond imagination when my home was demolished and I was displaced from my city to another city. I only took a few possessions with me, which I am ashamed to say are possessions. Does a person have 1 cup for all family members to drink from, or a few blankets for a family of 7? We came to another city with a tent for displaced people, which is a piece of cloth that does not protect from the heat of summer or the cold of winter. You have to line up on the water line, and if you miss that on this day, you will not drink clean water. And after that comes the suffering of cooking and baking over a fire. I won't have time to finish this letter, but I want to say that I've been to Palestine. They're people just like you and me. Their blood's red just like yours and mine. Their tears are salty just like yours and mine. And this is happening with our tax dollars. Please pass.
Thank you, Don. Any additional public comment?
Stephen Bannister, retired local physician. The question of, is this a genocide? The United Nations passed a resolution, United Nations Convention on Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, Article 2, and genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group as such. A, killing members of the group. B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. Deliberately inflicting on the whole group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. According to this, we currently have a genocide in Gaza, and Netanyahu's been accused of the war crimes. So I would urge you to pass a resolution for a ceasefire and the arms embargo. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Do we have any callers, Madam Clerk?
Yes, we do. We have one caller.
Okay, let's bring them in.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Board of Supervisors, Matthew Coulter, Nevada County. I'm calling in on our traffic issues locally. There was a heinous accident yesterday, injury accident in front of the Rood Center. There's also been a fatality in the same spot from a pedestrian. And I hope that the county can take charge of our roadways versus having Caltrans standards dictate a 50-mile-an-hour stretch where people are trying to walk across to go to the county library, government center, social services, and even Odyssey House and other things that are going on there at the government center. So I implore you to do something. AB 43 allows municipalities to lower speed limits below Caltrans standards for safety reasons, and we are a perfect community to take advantage of that, being that we have horse roads that are hardly wide enough. If they have a shoulder, we're lucky, and they're just extremely dangerous as a pedestrian, bicyclist, person with a stroller. It's pretty frightening out there to see how many near misses there are. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Is there any other public comment in the room? Any other callers?
No.
Okay, we will close public comment. Thank you all for coming down to make your comments. Okay, we're going to move on. We have currently a presentation on Nevada Sierra Connecting Point informational presentation on National Caregivers Month. And Rachel Pena, I believe you're going to be introducing the item.
Good morning, and thank you for having us here this morning. I'm Rachel Pena. I'm the Director of Social Services, and I'm very happy to be here with Tim Giuliani and Leslie Kearns. Thank you.
Did you speak into the microphone? Thanks.
Okay. November is National Caregivers Month, which is a time to recognize and honor family caregivers across the country. This offers an opportunity to raise awareness of caregiver issues, educate our community, and increase support for the incredible work that caregivers are doing. Today, the Public Authority is here to share an update of the services that they provide to our community, and I want to turn it over to our partners, Tim and Leslie.
Thank you, Rachel.
Welcome.
Board.
Yep, welcome, both of you.
My name is Tim Giuliani. I'm the Executive Director, and I'm with my colleague Leslie Kearns, who manages our IHSS Public Authority. We are, as the Chair said, Nevada Sierra Connecting Point Public Authority. We do business as Connecting Point, but a lot of people know us for the work we do on 211. We do many different things in the community. Not only the public authority, we administer the 211 program. We work closely with Rachel and her team on CalWorks and youth, getting them back to work, work closely with businesses, nonprofits, and local governments. But I think today, as Rachel talked about, we're here to talk about the in-home supportive service public authority and the good work that all of the caregivers, or as we call them, providers, do in our communities.
Sure. So we have been all month celebrating our caregivers, and what we do, our role at Connecting Point, is to build up a list, a group of qualified workers that we can refer to the homes of what we call consumers in this program. So Kelly Carpenter's group, they work on getting the clients set up, and we work on getting the care providers set up to go out into the homes. And so we've been celebrating them all month because it's a very difficult job, going in a lot of times not knowing what's going to be needed, and taking care of all sorts of things that you couldn't imagine, when you first start. So some of the things that we do, we get people set up in the program. They have to go through a background check, go through a whole state system. We refer them out based on their skill levels to the different consumers in this program. And we act as payroll. We handle insurance because they are qualified for insurance, health insurance. And we do a lot of matching, a lot of classes, CPR. We have all sorts of classes in caregiving skills and how to use your smartphone, which are, by the way, available to the community. So we're the custodian of record for the DOJ on the providers, and we negotiate with the union on benefits. Our program has really grown. We have over 1,000 consumers, over 1,000 providers in our county, and it's growing by about 23% each year because of a change in Medi-Cal. We have all kinds of tools and all kinds of things for our providers to try to make it easier and a professional environment for them to work in somebody's home. We'll help with interviewing, we'll help with skill building inside with the consumer and the provider. So we're just always trying to make it a very pleasant experience for both and keep people together.
I want to take a second to thank the board for partnership and for Rachel and her team. Our board of directors is appointed by you, and they're a very active board. And we've been having board symposiums where we're able to really kind of dig deep on the issues and how we can best serve the providers in our community. And recently, Thursday, we had
the 21st.
A big appreciation event for our caregivers in the community. We had over 100 people attend, caregivers, and we provided them with live music, raffles, and a really good meal. And it was a wonderful event, appreciating really hard work that these folks do. With that, I think...
I was going to say, throughout the appreciation of them, they were appreciating us too, which was a surprise and very, very nice. It was a beautiful party. It was run mostly by our board at Connecting Point. They went around to our community and gathered all these gifts to give for the raffle. Over 65 gifts just from our local, shops and things. It was wonderful.
With that, we're open to questions. It's just the whole point of this conversation was just to draw awareness and thanks to the providers in our community.
Thank you, that's wonderful. I'm going to actually jump in with a question. Is this service for low-income folks who are part of our clients only? Or can somebody say, my mom is going to need extra help at some point and she can pay for it? Can she call and get a list of vetted providers and use those? Is that a service that is available for other folks as well?
Yeah, I'll jump in. The public authority service is specific for in-home supportive service clients. However, we do have lists of, if your mother, I think was the example, comes in and needs a list, we do have lists, but we are not their employer of record. We don't do any of that stuff. But that is something that we do provide.
Thank you. Yeah, that's an extra service for folks who just don't even know where to start looking for help.
We have a lot of people that come in looking for that service, just from the reputation we have in the community for doing it. So.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you. I'll turn it over to my colleagues to make any comments or questions. Sue?
No, just, again, what a great thing to celebrate for these folks. They are what allow a lot of people to stay in their homes, and that's the key to that. And I guess what else I love is, again, it's the collaboration of agencies that make this happen. You know, none of it works alone, and how you all work together and make things come to, I mean, it's just amazing to me, and I appreciate that. I don't think it's always that way everywhere, and I do think that that's how you make this special program work. I met a gal the other day, and she would not be in her home without you. That was how that worked, and how much she appreciated the gal that comes in and helps her cleans, help her do the things that she can't do anymore. And those are uplifting, and I think that's the other part. It's what it does to your spirit. So to those peoples that give of their time, yes, thank you, and I'm glad we're celebrating them this month. And thank you for providing a wonderful party. Your board, that says a lot, how much you do appreciate the folks that work there. So again, people are interested in that. They should reach out to you as well, because there's training. If somebody has the opportunity, they want to give a gift of their time, I'm sure that they can reach out to you for that training and to sign up for that as well, correct?
Absolutely, we provide anyone in the community that wants to get a CPR or wants to have in-home provider caregiving skills, we will provide.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Again, I want to appreciate all of the agencies that work together to make this happen. I just saw Kelly Carpenter walk in, and I occasionally have to call people and send them to adult services, and then how that all hands out and comes back around. And then 211, we can't even thank them enough for pointing people into the right directions, because sometimes websites are overwhelming. So again, thank you. What a great opportunity to celebrate so many wonderful people. Over 1,000 people that need caregivers. That doesn't count the folks that can afford to pay for one.
Right.
Like Heidi was talking about, you asked a good question. That was on the tip of my tongue. So thank you.
Right, and I'd love to put an exclamation mark on our partnership. Our agency has been around for over 20 years, and we've had exceptional partnership with the social service department. We work really well together. Thank you.
Ed?
Do you have any board members here?
We do not have any board members here.
How big is the board?
The board members, we have 9 members appointed by Nevada County, 2 by Sierra County.
Oh, okay, very good. And we talked about other organizations that you're involved with. I think of Freed, you must work
We work very closely with Freed, yes.
Yeah.
We're very good partners.
And the fact that you're here for awareness, I think, is very, very important. Because even myself, when I see Connecting Point, 211,
yeah,
it's hard to get beyond that. But to say you have 1,000, what did you call them?
1,000 caregivers.
Caregivers, wow.
Yeah, we use the word provider also, so we go back and forth. But a lot of times people don't know what a provider can mean, a doctor, all these things, but they're in-home caregivers.
That's wonderful. I'm very impressed with your organization. Hopefully the awareness is getting out there. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Sue? Lisa.
Yes.
So thank you for the work that you do. The 211 is so important in our community, and I know since I've been up here, I've gotten numerous calls from people with questions, and I always send them to 211, and then I always call them back to make sure that they got help 100%. Someone answered their question or left a message and got a call back, and it was very helpful. So I really appreciate all the work that you do and for you guys being here today. I know that there's a tremendous amount of need in our community, and I think this is a really valuable service. So thanks for all that you do.
Thank you for your feedback.
So, yeah, thank you for your cooperative relationships. That's so much more can get done when you have good partnerships. So we appreciate that. I wonder, I mean, I've learned over the years how much IHSS caregivers do, that it's not medical, it can be anything that people need, rides to their appointments or help in the house. Can you maybe outline a number of things that they do so folks who are listening in understand how much help they are and so they know if they need to reach out?
It can be anywhere from personal services, helping them into the shower, onto the toilet, in and out of bed, or it can be household items, laundry, vacuuming, cooking, going shopping, taking them to their medical appointments, helping them when they're in with the doctor if they aren't maybe able to communicate all their needs, getting them hooked up for other services. It's a really nice partnership that we have 2-on-1, and we can just connect them to people and other resources that they may need that the program does not cover. Because it is limited to certain things so that to protect the in-home caregiver so they're not getting injured or there's a lot of, workers' comp or those kind of things. They're also not medical helpers, so it's just basic things to keep the person safe in their home.
Thank you for clarifying that. It's almost like for folks who don't have a family member nearby, they can do all that work or connect them to the people who could help them. And that's, yeah, I don't think everybody knows that there's so many services that they provide, and it is a tremendous a group, a tremendous service that we have here in this county. So I want to thank you so much for what you do as well. And we're going to open it up for public comment at this time. Any folks want to comment on this presentation?
One mention is, as you said, caregivers can be family members as well. So it just depends on the circumstances.
Right, thank you for clarifying that, that's right. Any comments, any callers, Madam Clerk?
No callers.
Okay, then we'll close public comment. Any final comments from the board? And we don't have to take a motion, so just thank you very much for your presentation and for everything you do.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, Rachel, you're not going anywhere, right? Nope. Next we have a presentation from the Food Bank of Nevada County. I see folks come on up. You can use both. All
right, well, hello again. I am really lucky to be able to highlight some of our collaborations today, and this second one is really exciting for me. I'm here to introduce this presentation on the Food Bank of Nevada County to you. I'm excited for you to hear about actually the incredible ways that this organization serves our community, the way they collaborate with the county, with our schools, and with many different community-based organizations to combat food insecurity in Nevada County. We'll also get to hear about their ongoing plans to expand in order to meet the growing needs. And so with that introduction, I want to introduce to you, we've got here Doug Fleming, the board president, Julie Thornbury, the executive director, and Dean Barta, vice president of the board. And so I'm going to step back, but I'm available for any questions.
Great, welcome. Come on up to the microphones.
Thank you. Whoa. All right, I'm just going to figure this out. Thanks, Rachel. That was really nice. Oh, this is for the slides, I take it? Is this wonderful?
I believe so. Give it a try, yeah.
Oh, maybe?
Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know what I did to do it, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah, Carissa, are you doing the slides or is he doing that with?
On this? Oh, on the keyboard. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Wonderful. There we go.
There you go.
We're working it out.
Very good.
Thank you. All right. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to have us here today. We know your time is valuable, and we want to make that efficient. And we want to really thank Rachel for getting us the opportunity to sit here in front of you. So yeah, my name is Dean, as mentioned, and we are the Food Bank of Nevada County. We've been in the county community for almost 40 years, and as the name implies, our mission is to alleviate food insecurity in our community. And we've seen a dramatic increase in that need over the last year, as you can see by the graph. But whenever food insecurity raises its ugly head, we are there to answer the call and to provide food to anyone, regardless of who they are and where they come from. And so long as they have the courage to ask for help, that is when we will step in and provide it. So it's a common misconception that we serve the unhoused. While that is true, it is actually not the majority of the people that we serve in the community. We recently decided that it was time for us to get to know our customers a little bit better. We're required not to discriminate when we provide our services, so we seldom ask questions that would be too prying, but we wanted to get to know who we were really serving. So we did a survey this year, and we found that over 50% of our clients were over 65, and 38% of them were single parents with kids under 18, and over 80% of them were employed or on a fixed income. So the majority of the people that we serve are just like you and me. And I think that was an affirmation to the fact that we have a need that isn't really talked about in our community. And you can't judge a book by its cover. And I forgot to mention that that survey was over 500 respondents that we had from that survey that gave us that data. So the people in our community receive services from us in several different ways. We have 6 programs that we distribute food through. The primary that most people know about is our direct distribution in Grass Valley. You've probably seen the line if you ever drive through Cedar Ridge on the wrong day. We apologize to all the residents for the traffic jam. But that line spans hundreds of cars every time we have a distribution. And in addition to that, we also have a home delivery program, a community agency program, which we provide food to over 23 local nonprofits so that they can provide food to people. And then we also do a school snack program with over 20 schools enrolled, and a summer lunch program where we partner with 10 low-income apartment complexes to provide lunches to children during the summer when they normally would get food from school, but they don't have access to it in the summertime. And then we also partner with the county, thank you, for emergency services when they do arise, fire, power outages, snow. People have a hard time getting access to food in those instances, so we have been there to answer the call, regardless of the conditions. You might be wondering, as a supervisor, how that fits into your district, and we've actually made this nice little chart to show you exactly, how and where we are distributing food in your district. And this is a visual representation of what we've been doing in the county to provide our services. So last year, we delivered over 2 million pounds of food. And I know that sounds like a just made up number, but we measured it. All of that was weighed and measured before distributed. And half of that almost was through our direct distribution. So that means that the other half was done through our indirect food distribution programs, which include, our school programs and our partner agencies and such. And as I am a financial planner, I'm kind of a finance geek, so I wanted to know how that actually impacted the local community. And it turns out that 2 million pounds of food turns into about $6 million of money that can be spent locally because people aren't spending it on food. They're able to spend it on other services that they need in the community. And we run a pretty tight ship as an organization. We don't have a lot of fluff, so for every dollar that we receive as a donation, $7 is basically returned into the local community. And as a finance geek, that's not a bad ROI. So this gives you a visual representation of how we are currently, one, receiving our resources and then distributing them accordingly. So we're lucky enough to receive money from the state through various agencies and resources as well, primarily resources. Whenever we receive things from the state, they're usually allocated, they're spoken for. We don't get the choice as to where they get spent. So the real heroes are our donors, who cover 90% of our operating costs every year. And they really show up to make sure that their neighbors get provided for. I know you're probably thinking there might be some large donors that help us out with that, and there are, but primarily our average donation is about $20. So that really speaks to the fact that this community wants to help each other stand up when somebody's down. And I want to give a special shout out to Ryan Groover, Allison Lehman, Kathy Cahill, Shannon Moon, and Tamarin Cook for all showing support by getting in the trenches among our hundreds of volunteers and seeing firsthand the good work that we've been doing for the people in our community. So our current solution, as you can see here on this flow chart, has been getting the job done, but we also feel it is a little redundant and incohesive. And that's part of the reason why we're sitting in front of you today, is because we think by furthering our partnership with the county, we can create a unified front to address the food insecurity problem that we have in our community. So our vision is that, one, we will be a fully sustainable organization by 2050, meaning that our lovely donors won't have to give us the money if they don't need to or want to. Because we will be using our endowment fund to fund our own organizational costs, and which we already have established. We've been working on that for several years now. And we want to work with the county to create a unified front for providing food to those in need. We no longer feel that it is efficient for us to be a direct distributor. We feel like we could partner with our agencies, our partner agencies, to become a wholesaler for them to then distribute the funds and alleviate the congestion that we see a lot of in our current distribution model. And in that, we want to thank the county and Rachel specifically, for getting us the opportunity to use the Rood Center to expand our food access points to alleviate that congestion and give people closer access to food when they need it, because a lot of times driving across town is a consideration for the people that are coming to get our food from us. So moving forward, we would like to further our partnership with the county. We would like to create some revenue consistency to support our operational expenses, have closer collaboration with Emergency Response Committee and planning, so that way we can be more on top of it when these events do occur. We want to provide better education and awareness around our organization and our programs throughout the county, and just work more closely in the future with grants and future opportunities that we may have. And while we have questions, I have some lovely quotes that came out of the survey that we just recently did for this last survey, and I will warn you that some of them will make you tear up.
Great, thank you so much. Really valuable information, such a great program. I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues. Ed, you want to ask questions?
Maybe just a little clarification. So the money comes down through the federal government. That chart right there. Goes to community agencies first, is that the way?
No.
No.
Sorry. It goes to, so actually it starts at the federal government at the USDA level, and so there's and social services, so there's that portion, and then there's like USDA Ag, so we're on the social services side, and it's a federal program, and it then goes through, so you'll see it's USDA, that's where it starts, then it goes through state, which is our program with the state and the federal government. It's called TFAP, which you'll see on there, which is the Emergency Food Access Program. And so with those funds, that it goes directly to us. There's only one food bank per county that is federally and state sponsored. That is us, which they give us a small portion of funds, so it averages about 4% of our operating costs. They also give us food resources, give us as kind of a money is allocated, and we choose, which is also another very small portion, but they are, as you guys might remember or think of it as the block of cheese. So we no longer get a block of cheese because that's too expensive, but it is those sort of items that come down, so the federal government purchases food for pennies on the dollar, or it's donated to them, and the actual food even comes from DC back there, and they truck it to the state level, and then that's where we get our food and funds from, is both those locations. And so, and then from there, what we do is we get other food and resources coming in, and then we give it to other community agencies that food is one of their priorities. So not just any community agency that's a nonprofit, places like Hospitality House and Salvation Army, because that way we're able to get the food to the people who need it most.
Yeah. So the donors to your organization, then you're able to buy additional food?
So yes, the donors, we have, like you said, it's 90% for our operating costs donated. Also, 75% of our food is donated as well. So depending on the time of year or the donations we have coming in, they purchase the food or they purchase the fuel that allows us to go get the free donated food from larger organizations. So we bring basically all the resources from outside of the county into the county, and then we keep it in the county. As far as if there is money to purchase food, I try to purchase, and I would say at least 90% of the time I'm able to purchase inside the county, so that we're keeping the resources that we've worked so hard to bring from outside of the county in the county, and it can do those magic math numbers that Dean was talking about, even more so. So the numbers he gave did not include the financial resources that we're bringing in.
Yeah, I was pretty conservative when I made that economic impact report.
Sure. Oh, I understand that. Yeah. No, you guys do a wonderful thing. Now I have to ask, because it wasn't that long ago, and we were hearing you guys didn't have the amount of food that you really needed to pass out for the needs.
So I would say that's a constant problem.
That's always a problem?
Yeah, it really is. One, the numbers, I mean, they had already gone up exponentially, and then in this last year to almost double again, is it's a lot of food. And so it's very hard to visualize how much millions of pounds of food is. For that Grass Valley, that singular distribution, mind you, we do, I think it is 9 other direct distributions. For that singular distribution, it's about six truckloads of food. So that can be up to 60 pallets of food, full pallets of food that we have to procure, bring in from out of the county, store it, truck it, store it, load it back on the trucks, take it to whatever the distribution site is, bring it back off, and then distribute it. And so we have kind of reached our max in the amount of food that we can bring to any specific location just because of the amount of manpower to it. So with that and storage, it means we are constantly low, and every single week we are acquiring the food and resources needed for that, what is happening that week. And so we have distributions every single week. So it is a constant because we get, especially when it's donated, the food is usually closed date if someone's giving it to you for free. And so a lot of times that means we don't know what we're going to have for the distribution until literally the night before.
Well, and the 2 million pounds is an incredible amount of food. But I have to assume the little bag that occasionally I bring in is still important.
Exceptionally important. So the food that people bring in and walk into our warehouse, it usually goes back out the same day. We give it about a 48, if we're lucky, if we're feeling flush, within 2 days. And so he showcased 6 direct food distribution programs. We actually have more like 10 programs that aren't included in there. And so, and one of those being for like the unhoused. And so that food goes very quickly to our unhoused population or other things going on. Like if you have produce from your yard, that usually goes to our home delivery or the school snacks, things like that. And so we're doing something, and a lot of times multiple distributions or programs every single day. So there's lots of opportunity for those single donations. And let me tell you, they appreciate every single donation they get, because for most people, when they come in, that's their food for the day.
Well, it's an amazing program. Keep up the work. I'm surprised you're here today because I assume this is a pretty busy week.
Yes, thank you. They're at the warehouse right now. We have about 100 households that will be delivering to our elderly and homebound today, and so they don't have access to food or for anyone to do that shopping or food for them. So it takes a lot of volunteers to drive to 100 households.
And thank you to your volunteers. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa.
Yes, thank you for the work that you do. I recently attended the open house that you had a few months back, and in particular, I was very impressed when it was pointed out to me the resources that you have for emergency preparedness with food. I didn't realize that you guys were such a big part of that, so the opportunity to collaborate more here at the county with our emergency response team, I think, is an excellent goal that you have on your calendar. So it's interesting to watch over the years, having been by your distribution. What I see on a weekly basis now is what we used to see for a holiday giveaway. So the fact that you've been able to react and still provide food to so many people in our community is amazing. So thanks for all you do, and hopefully after this week you get a few days of reprieve next week before you get ready for the Christmas rush.
Thank you. I'd like to comment on the holiday part. For us, and for the people we serve, and it may not have always been this way, but it's definitely true now, is the majority of people, really almost all of them that come to us, is they need the food. The the holiday items that we may or may not have are a bonus, and they're not coming, they actually need the food to put on their table. And so it really is a gift as far as the holidays go, to be able to get maybe something a little extra like rolls. Rolls are expensive, something we take for granted, at least I do. A turkey is really a bonus, like that's not even something if they get the potatoes, or because what it is this time of year and all year round, people are they're in need and searching for to be able to just put food on their table for themselves, for their children. And a lot of times, again, that's based on one meal a day. That's not based on 3 hearty meals. And we're only able to provide supplemental groceries, and so that means people go without. If we only handed out a holiday meal with our holiday distribution, if you will, that's not enough food. That's not anywhere near enough food, even as supplemental. And so I just think it's really important for, everyone to take into. So I appreciate, we definitely work harder this time of year for a lot of reasons, but there is no time off. We're still, like I said, if we don't do one of our programs because of a holiday, that means not one household is going without food. That means, a large amount of people are going without food. So we try to make sure that we cover all of our distributions even through the holidays.
And Julie, if I can comment on the emergency services part of her comment as well. It's not just food that we have set aside in the warehouse for that, right? Like what is all set aside for those events?
So for emergency services, where we keep things purposefully aside because of you never know what you're going to need in emergency, we have and have given out cots. So to the Sierra Roots and a few of the others, the hot and cold shelters, we provided them with cots. We have soap, we have bottled water, we have deodorant, toothbrushes, toothpaste, blankets. Sometimes we have blankets as well, but we keep them at the warehouse in case we need. So mind you, none of these things are funded or come from our other resources because we're a food bank. We're only sponsored to do food things, but we found in our small community, everybody needs food, so we're kind of the first stop, and it makes it a lot more efficient and helpful for the people we're trying to serve is to keep these items on hand. Pet food, even more. I'm sure someone could think up something, and we probably have that as well set aside.
Okay. I'm going to turn it over to Sue for her comments. Thank you.
Really, and all your board members that work on this and the volunteers, that's huge. And we're just talking about that operational cost. You have to do this and stay inside of that. We got fuel, we got power. I mean, the refrigeration costs have to be astronomical. I can't even imagine. So kudos to all of the folks that do give. I think that's huge. I missed your open house, but I look forward to when things slow down to have a tour again. And I just think that it's really interesting when you look at those numbers. It's incredible to think what we have to have. And I know you're in my district. North San Juan loves you. Pin Valley, so you make the roll around, and the stuff that we're doing in our schools, I think, is really important. It gives kids this. It's almost like a little sense of pride for them to be able to go shop in the store and be able to bring it home, and you guys help provide that. I worked at Hospitality House. I know what you do, and you give there. So it's been interesting to watch how that food flows through our community, and so much thanks to you. Continue, people out there, give. They can always take that. I know the church is doing a big drive. Again, we do those, and I'm always amazed at the bags of groceries that come in. So I do love that people want to be giving. I think, especially in this time of year, it makes you realize that, right? It is. It's a time of giving and thanks. And sometimes we get into a time where we just float along and forget those things. We take things for granted, and I've learned that every day is not something we take for granted. It's a gift. So you guys are all giving a gift. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This is incredible, an incredible operation you have here. And Dean, it's great to see you involved with this organization. I love that.
Good to see you.
If people are hungry, if people are finding that they are needing food now, where would they go to let you know that?
So you can always check out our website, which is foodbankofnc.org. And there, we have a list on the homepage and then a tab that says where to get food. And so we try to make it as easy as possible. Also, our phone number, 530-272-3796. Anyone can call because not everybody's super comfortable in the computer scene, but also 211. Gives out our information. And so anywhere we try to make our, on social media, we have our calendar as well. And our calendar shows not just our direct distributions, but on the backside, it shows the pantries and organizations we work with and their days and times as well.
Perfect.
Because it's very difficult. We have a rural county, so it's very hard to, go too far for it. And so in that way, they can see what works for them.
So the easiest thing might be for them to call 211, let them know where they are, and then have them find you a location. What about people who would like to donate? Where do they go?
The same, our website, foodbankofnc.org, and there's multiple ways to donate and contribute, and or mailing it to our warehouse, which is 310 Railroad Avenue, Suite 100 in Grass Valley, or dropping it off. We get a lot of people who drop off turkeys and a donation, and that's incredibly helpful as well. We also currently have an auction going on that is ending this week. That is our largest fundraiser of the year, and it's where 45 local businesses donated items and experiences that would be great as gifts. And the reason I bring it up is we've had multiple businesses who've actually closed since we first procured the items. And so I think it's a big help if, as part of donating to us, as well as being a part of those businesses and being a part of our local economy and, doing what we can for them as well.
Thank you. So folks out there who want to donate, go to the website. Tell me again.
Foodbank.
Foodbankofnc.org. And this time of year is especially an important one to be donating. And do you have a Facebook page, or do you send out information, like if you're short certain things? Is it something the county could do to help, like, push out more information when you have a special need?
That would be wonderful. Yeah, we do have a Facebook page and an Instagram and also a newsletter. So all those things also can be connected through the website.
So people can find you there as well.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for everything you're doing. I'm going to open it up for public comment now. Any folks want to make any comment? Madam Clerk, do we have any callers?
No callers.
Okay. I'm going to close public comment. Thank you again so much. This is a fabulous and incredibly important service that you provide. I love that there are ways we can contribute, and there are ways for people who have needs can contact you. So keep up the good work, and please do let the county know what we can do to help you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll give you a minute to regroup, and then anybody up here need a break? Are we good? Good, okay. Okay, then we're going to move on. I think we have the sheriff. Let's see. Going to have an informational presentation on the Co-Responder Mobile Crisis Team Program. I see the sheriff and Sean Scales here. Welcome. And go ahead and, do we have some interruption going on? Let's take a moment. Okay. All right, welcome.
Vice Chair Hall, honorable members of the board, Shannon Moon, your Nevada County Sheriff, thank you so much for giving us the time today to present to you on mostly just an update on where our mobile crisis team is. As you recall, it was October of 2020, so boy, how time flies, where myself and your Behavioral Health Director, Phoebe Bell, presented to you on this concept that we came up with to collaborate and to bring crisis response services into the home and ensuring that folks do get the best of service in Nevada County when they're in mental health crisis. Today, we're going to hear from Captain Sean Scales of our Operations Division and provide you a presentation on where the program is now.
Good morning, Board. Thank you for the chance to present. So I want to start out with our mission statement. And the mission of the Sheriff's Office is committed to providing excellence in public service in partnership with our community. At the Sheriff's Office, it's not just words on a plaque or on a wall or anything like that. We really take that into consideration in every call for service, every contact we have, every report we write, the programs we support, and the programs that we try to launch. And this program is directly reflective of that mission statement. So when we look at the mobile crisis team, Sheriff Moon started looking at this program pretty much as soon as she got into office in 2019. We had heard her mention it several times, and then eventually the team was actually created after she presented in October in December of 2020. We started out with one mobile crisis team, as you see there, Deputy Spittler and Ernesto was the clinician at the time. And it really was a success, and I truly believe were it not for the support of the public and the great choices we had in those two positions that the program would not have been so successful. Sheriff Moon visited sites outside of Nevada County, including Yolo County, San Diego County, where other similar programs had been established to sort of model our program after. So the initial team with one clinician and deputy was expanded in less than a year. We saw tremendous value in the team, and we expanded in November of the following year to 2 teams, so we have coverage on both sides of the week. So that's why you see clinician Stacy Green there and Deputy Ball at the time. And our goals with this program, we'd love to have it 24/7 coverage for Nevada County. We never know when our calls for service are going to come in. We never know where they're going to take us, what they're going to entail, and we definitely don't control what time of day they come in. So it'd be really great to expand this program. But we can't do it on our own. So these are just some of our partners that you see here. All of the local law enforcement agencies, many departments within Nevada County, agencies outside Nevada County, such as NAMI, Veterans Office, Turning Point, Dignity Health, all of the local fire departments, first responder programs, everything like that, ambulance services. Those are all people that our teams work with on a pretty regular basis. And this program, which initially was launched by the Sheriff's Office, Behavioral Health, and Sierra Mental Wellness Group, they also never know where their days are going to take them either. So there's often requests from outside agencies. It's so well recognized now that we actually have people who are calling our dispatch center and asking directly for the mobile crisis team, the Sheriff's Office mobile crisis team. So we'll ask to speak directly with Stacy or clinician Garrison. And that is a reflection of the service and time and reputation that these folks have built on every single call for service. You know, it got a lot of attention relatively quickly. I recall Sheriff Moon doing an interview for ABC Nightly News. Cal Matters also did a big piece on it. You can Google it to this day, just to show it's not common for a rural county to do these types of things. We're always strapped for resources, staffing. A lot of folks don't necessarily live in Nevada County who would be willing to take on this type of job. So finding the right folks for those programs can be extremely difficult. Our folks are well trained. Sheriff Moon has put a big emphasis on training for the Sheriff's Office, and the mobile crisis team is no exception to that. So what you see here is Stacy and Conrad at their FBI crisis negotiations course. It's a 40-hour intensive training. We require the deputies to have several years' experience, and the clinicians must be licensed or license eligible with 2 years of crisis experience. We also do in-house training related to mental health, substance abuse, crisis intervention, and we also, as I spoke earlier, the psychiatric emergency response team in San Diego. We've trained with them as well. But really, in law enforcement, every call for service is a training. There's really not any call for service I've ever been on in my career, and I'm sure these folks can say the same, where you don't learn something, whether it's just a contact with the public or a call with somebody who's really in crisis. Every single time you learn something. So just some of our quick stats. So in 2022, we had 574 contacts with 75 mental health holds and 16 arrests. In 2023, we had 558 contacts with 48 mental health holds and 10 arrests. And in 2024, they were nice enough to pull the stats for me this morning. We are currently at 614 as of this morning, contacts with 34 mental health holds and 12 arrests. You can see from those stats that this program is not designed to throw people in jail or anything like that. These folks are looking for what is the best outcome for all parties involved, and there's times where we don't have a choice and we end up having to take somebody to jail. We actually have people who sometimes call us and say, you know what, I need to go to jail. A lot of people think of jail as a place where you just get locked up and the key is thrown away and stuff like that, but that's not our jail. And our program and our focus in the public also continues through the incarceration process. And we are definitely no exception to that. With that, I'm going to turn it over to some of our mobile crisis team members so they can speak to you about what they do every day.
My name is Travis Reed. I have been a part of the mobile crisis team for about a year now. During my time as a mobile crisis member, I've just noticed not only the importance but the necessity that it brings to the community members of Nevada County. I started my law enforcement career in the Bay Area, which we did not have any type of crisis response, and it just felt like something was missing when we responded to those calls. There's a lot of families that need help after a critical incident or a crisis event, and some things that we're able to fill a gap on is the immediate and comprehensive response. When people call a crisis line, they're often not even in the state. So we're able to, we're obviously driving around and we have an immediate response time. And then we also have a ton of follow-up that we do. So it's not just, hey, your son's getting placed on a hold and that's it, here's your case number. We follow up the next day, the next week, the next month, and we work with these people to try to, conduct rehabilitation, and we consult with families we're trying to proactively prevent the next crisis is what we're trying to do. So families don't fall into a spiral where it's a consistent thing. We have a ton of referrals, and we also work with the county behavioral crisis team as well. I'm going to pass it to Anna, who's going to talk about what kind of calls we go on. Next slide.
I appreciate you guys having us. Thank you. I'm Anna Garrison. I'm one of the crisis clinicians. I've actually been in the field of social work for about 20 years. And I just think so highly of this program. I just wanted to talk a little bit about kind of the traditional crisis services versus kind of the expanded services that we have to offer. So traditional services, it's, calls that are indicating that somebody is in a mental health crisis. So maybe somebody who's a danger to themselves, a danger to others, or is gravely disabled because of a mental health condition. And we do respond, we do crisis intervention, we do de-escalation, we do assessments, we try to safety plan. As you saw, the number of our mental health holds are extremely low in comparison to our number of contacts. But we try to safety plan or provide support in obtaining a higher level of care as needed and just navigating the hospital system and all of that with the families and the clients. Beyond that, one of the realities of what these guys have to respond to every day is just, it's such a variety of calls. You couldn't imagine the spectrum of calls that they respond to and, anything imaginable. And our deputies do a really good job. I'm thankful to work with some really, really good people at the sheriff's office. But I want to just give you a few stories of recent calls. So one is a child was killed in a tragic accident. And we went to that call as a support to the family and to the other first responders that were on scene so that they could focus on doing their job while we provided support to the family. Several days later, we went back. We followed up with that family. We sat with them for several hours with the family members that they had, and we were able to give them some information and connect them to resources that maybe they wouldn't have had otherwise. Another call, which you wouldn't think was mental health in any way, was my partner and I went to a burglary in North San Juan, and nothing mental health related about that, right? Wrong. So we get there, and there's multiple family members. They're not talking. There's chaos. Somebody had recently passed away. Their home was burglarized, and they were not headed to kind of a nasty court battle. So we were able to mediate between those family members and also connect them to some resources and supports. So when we think about those things, oftentimes I kind of hear that crisis intervention, kind of this thought process that there's just this immediate crisis that just manifests out of nowhere. But then when you actually talk with people later on, you hear just kind of down the road, my child died. I lost my purpose in life. I didn't know what to do, and now they're in crisis again for a different reason. Or, I lost my loved one. The home was burglarized. We're in a nasty court battle. And all of these things are what accumulate into crisis that we see out in the field, and suicidal people, people who are experiencing deep depression. All of those things are cumulative. So just a reality that we never know how we can step in on calls and provide support and services to people, and I think that's really important. And just the last thing that I want to mention is that I have a passion for first responders and just their wellness, because they're exposed to far more trauma than the general public, and their suicide rate is about 3 times higher, if not more, than the general public. And so I think a great part of this role is being able to step in and just check in with our first responders in real time on tough calls, after tough calls, and sometimes even provide them some support, because they're often forgot about when we are responding to all of these things over and over and over again. So we just appreciate your time. Thank you for your support for this program.
All right, in closing, as I previously stated, we're tremendously pleased with the success of the program. One thing that Anna just touched on that I want to make sure I covered is this benefits more than just the public on their actual calls for service with the mobile crisis team. Having these folks embedded in our office to observe all of us, to relay training to us at briefings, having our deputies be able to observe how they talk with people who are in crisis, all of that bleeds over to the entire agency. Taking the tips and tools, and in law enforcement, you hear from the first day of the academy that it's another tool in your toolbox, and that is absolutely true because there is not one tool that can handle every single call for service. So having programs like this that enable us to diversify the services we offer and make it so that we can give every person the best outcome possible. Law enforcement is one of the few professions where you can do everything right and come out with a bad outcome. And unfortunately, we don't get a chance to have everything go our way every time. But having the clinicians embedded with us so they can train us, teach us, we can learn from each other. It used to be on calls for service, even myself, when I would write a 5150 hold or a detainment, and you detain the person, you drop them off at the hospital, and then that call for service is over and we move on to the next one. Having the clinicians with us to write those holds, they speak the language of the folks who are going to evaluate these subjects at the hospital, and it's so much more powerful when they are able to see the person on scene, see the conditions they were living in, seeing them in actual crisis, whereas usually by the time we get them up to the hospital, they've calmed down a little bit. Maybe they've taken a ride in some silver bracelets for a while, and it's sort of calmed them down a bit. So the folks at the hospital aren't seeing them in the same way we saw them in the field. So having those holds written by the clinicians in the field who have seen everything is absolutely much more powerful than me dropping somebody off of the hospital and filling out a form and saying, hey, I think this person needs some help. With that, I'll turn it over to Sheriff Moon for some final comments.
Yeah, appreciate all the work that this team does every single day. You've heard me say many times, I'm very proud of the work that happens at the Sheriff's Office. I'm extremely proud of the work that our mobile crisis teams provide every single day for folks. The contacts that they make are not based on who has medical insurance. and whether we're going to get billing back. These are folks that need services in our community that we respond to every single day, and they're there for our community members, they're there for our staff. The initial vision was about not having to detain someone in a community setting and bring them to a hospital. And we constantly had seen that as soon as they would get to the hospital, they would be deemed okay, and we'd give them a ride back to their house. Or we'd say, find a ride back to your house. So the inefficiencies of that in a rural setting, when you're looking at over an hour drive for a deputy sheriff to be off the street, providing service for someone to try to help them, and then recognize that it didn't necessarily meet criteria, or they had calmed down to the point where the folks that were doing the assessment said, there's just not enough here. Whereas having the clinicians in the field and seeing people where they are, and then a lot of times just looking at those numbers, seeing that it doesn't take a hold. It takes a safety plan. It takes communication about what is the best thing that we can do for a family, and listening to the families of this has been a repeated issue, and when are we going to get some help? So again, just looking at the last 4 years, I couldn't be more proud of the work that our teams produce every single day, and would open it up for any questions that you have.
Thank you so much to all of you. Such a wonderful program that I think we all love. I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to start comments.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming in today and especially telling the stories. So just a couple quick questions and then a couple comments. How is this program being funded? Are you grant funded, or does this come out of your budget?
Yes.
Okay.
It's been funded by several different sources since its inception. Currently, it's funded by a BSCC, or it's a JAG grant that's administered by the BSCC.
And what's the timeline on your grant? How much do you have left on it?
We're good through fiscal year and next year, so the next fiscal year, so July of 2026.
Okay, great. Well, that's great.
And Supervisor Swartha, that's for the clinicians.
Right.
The deputy sheriffs are funded through your board, through our general fund for allocation of services.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of uncertainty, I think, with grants moving forward into the next couple of years. So I think this program is so important, and it's great that we have it through 2026. But just to kind of plant the bug that we really need to figure out a way to fund this if the grant funding goes away, because I look at just not only the mental health benefits, but the cost savings of having 570 calls where you're only, maybe taking 12 people to jail. That has to be huge for your agency, for your officers' time. I've seen where they've been off the street for 4 or 5 hours because they had to take somebody to the hospital and then wait for them. And when you have limited resources and limited people on the street every day, I just think it's really important. So I've seen firsthand the value. I've had people call me and say, thank you for that service. In a particular case where a mother, she didn't know what to do with her teenager. It was so traumatic for her, but having that resource come out and help mediate the whole thing was a fantastic outcome. So thanks for all the hard work, and keep it up. I know the holidays is probably a really busy time for you guys. So.
Sue?
I'm just impressed where this has come from. I mean, I remember when we were talking about that, building something off a grant. But this is obviously something that's going to need to be embedded here and makes a difference in Nevada County. And I hope you guys as clinicians have a clinician. I think the work that you all do, and I like this, I loved hearing the work you're doing inside with your teammates. I think that's so important. Every day, you never know what you're going to step into the day. And sometimes it's not very good stuff. And so I love that you have that group to be able to grab onto and help with as well. So, and some of the things like, you read social media and you'll see a parent having a moment with a kid. And I wonder, even at that moment, I wonder if they've called our team in. Is that what they're doing today? What are they walking into? And what are they calming down? And I guess those numbers were pretty impressive to me. that, I am going to look a little curious, so do you see a lot of recall times that you have to keep going back to the same residents? Are you making headway there? Those numbers are important, and I love that you connect those to services. Again, we're working with behavioral health and mental health, NAMI, yeah, I mean, the team on there is huge. And does that seem to be really, do we see some real movement in that direction of help?
You know, one of the things is us being in the field and going to an incident is we, like Captain Scales was saying, that we are seeing what's going on in that home, and we're able to provide those services to the family also, not just the individual that's in crisis, because we see that the family's also in crisis. A lot of times we see a lot in the county of adult children living with their parents. Sometimes the parents are elderly. And, you know, their biggest fear, the family's biggest fear, is that their loved one's going to be out on the street, and they've struggled maybe for many years with this person having a serious mental illness. So really joining them with NAMI and, you know, working collaboratively with all of our community partners to kind of get around that family and offer them support. Sometimes we go back for follow-up.
Good.
You know, it's good to see people on a good day also. Check in, see how they're doing.
I love it. I think it builds a relationship too with our community, too, our sheriff's department. I think that's huge, because you guys, that's what you're here for, right? It's about community, and I love the headway that we've made with that through our whole Nevada County. So thank you for the work you're all doing.
And when we first mentioned that we're putting together a presentation for the board, we had several members of the community who wanted to come and speak, and some of them are here today. But the support for this program in the community, it's one of few programs that I've never heard anything negative about. And we're very lucky to have something like that in this community, especially in a rural area where we all live.
Ed?
So Sean, I heard you say, we have 2 teams now?
Correct.
But I heard you say you would love to see it 24 hours. How many teams would you need for that?
If everything goes well, just 4. You'd have 1 on each shift. And that's, I don't know if I threw a curveball at the sheriff with that one. But we're at the point where when we're picking patrol shifts and stuff like that, we have some deputies who angle to be on a team where there's an MCT team, just because of what it affords that shift. It's such an aid in resources that you have a clinician and a deputy on your shift that are trained the way they're trained and can handle the calls for service that they handle. It really is a time saver for all of us, and more importantly, it gets people the help that they need. You know, people have this idea of law enforcement that we're here to take people to jail and chase bad guys and all this kind of stuff, and really what all of us want is just for everybody to go along and get what they need, and whether that's, some people need an arrest to sort of, you know, see the light. Some people need a trip to Sierra Nevada so they can get well, or Tahoe Forest. And like I said, every call for service is different, so you never know what it is, what you're going to need, but having those teams with us is extremely valuable.
Well, I think the point being, as Lisa brought up, with your grant funding ending in 2026, you know, it's going to be expensive. But I can see where this has become an essential part of what your department does, truly essential and truly needed, so that somehow the funding is going to have to be found. And in some ways, it's going to be expensive, but in some ways, it's cost-saving too. So
yeah, I would agree with you very much, sir.
I think everybody can see the importance and the good that is coming out of this, and start to looking down the road a couple of years and saying, how are we going to be able to keep this going? Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, so I want to echo the thanks. I think it's very clear how valuable this team is to the community and to you and to all of us. So I had the same questions and concerns about the funding. We're proud to be supporting this team as a rural county on our part, and I'm, you know, thrilled that you're supporting it the way you are in your budget, and hope that we can find a way to keep this going. So thank you Shannon Moon, Captain Scales, Travis, Ann, and the other team, the rest of your team. We didn't get to meet you. Thank you for so much. I'm going to maybe ask you to step aside and open it up for public comment, if there's anybody who wants to come up and make a comment.
Good morning. My name is Ed Bennett. I happen to be a board member on NAMI, but that's only because I have a son that has mental illness, and for years, 15 years or so ago, I came to learn that because I thought I had behavioral son problems and would need to call the sheriff because he's being a bad guy and such. And the sheriff came out and helped us a lot. But in addition to that, the sheriff had a gentleman or an officer that had some familiarization with mental health. And I didn't know what I was dealing with, our family didn't, but the sheriff had a cue or a clue. So he said, call me whenever you get an issue, and I'd like to see if I can help. So over a period of a year or so, I would call and get some help, and that moved him, Aaron, my son, and us into behavioral health and Turning Point and getting some resources and help. Over time, I have found that the community and the sheriff department and the behavioral health system in our county is invaluable. I also learned that there was an organization called NAMI, and over time, occasionally we'd run into trouble, and about 4 years ago, you folks developed a corresponding team. My son is a very big boy. He's a 36-year-old man, and he can be violent. And so I would need mental health, but I also need law enforcement. And so there are times when I thought, well, I got to get some mental health here, but it's got to be armed. It's got to be somebody with handcuffs, you know. Never in the 10 years I've gone through some challenges has he been arrested. He's been taken to CSU. He's been calmed down. He's been cared for and gotten improved services and follow-up. And it's because of the recognition of mental health in the community as a problem we're all going to deal with. And he became one of those zeros that were arrested, and every time was helped. Doesn't mean we don't have a hold of 2 months sometimes when his condition gets bad, but he's never been violent to anybody else. He's never hurt anybody, and we've kept him out of the criminal system. So I got to say, thank you. I appreciate all the great stuff. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, honorable board members. My name is Jamie McIntosh, and I'm a social worker with Adult Protective Services here in Nevada County.
Will you lean into the microphone there so we can hear you? Thanks.
Leaning. Okay, so I'm here today to speak candidly about the incredible work done by the Nevada County Sheriff's Department Mobile Crisis Team. The teamwork and collaboration between Adult Protective Services and the Mobile Crisis Team members has been crucial in helping many of our mutual clients in the field. APS services are voluntary unless it is a life-threatening situation, and sometimes it takes multiple visits for some clients to accept any help. We have often responded together during crises to work as a team to support our clients. Last month, Adult Protective Services completed a joint visit with the Mobile Crisis Team when a restraining order was being served on an 80-year-old community member. So the Mobile Crisis Team was able to work in partnership with APS to ensure the elder was transitioned safely to a friend's home and not left out on the street. Recently, an APS client's home burned down, and she was left with nothing. The mobile crisis team responded and was able to bring the client to Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital emergency room. The mobile crisis team communicated with APS and stayed there with the elderly client the entire time she was in the ER. Even after the Adult Protective Services social worker arrived at the hospital, the members of the mobile crisis team stayed and continued to collaborate closely to ensure the client was safe and supported. The mobile crisis team further brought the client to obtain food, shelter, and they were instrumental in connecting the client with the American Red Cross to receive their financial support. So the mobile crisis team co-responder Stacy Green went above and beyond yet again and was able to support the client in obtaining identification, a new purse, and a jacket. For several days, the mobile crisis team continued to follow up with APS and offer the client support. APS was incredibly relieved to consistently receive messages indicating how the client was doing and continually asking how they could be of help. These are only a couple of examples of the thorough and collaborative work the Nevada County Sheriff's Department Mobile Crisis Team brings to the table. These incredible efforts and the amazing dedication of the Mobile Crisis Team additionally encourages others in the community to unite as well, and further ensures the need of our most at-risk populations are continually being recognized. This collaboration has been amazing for our clients and our staff. We rely heavily on the mobile crisis team's focus, consistency, rapport building, prevention.
Yep, the 3 minutes are up. Thank you. Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any callers?
No callers.
Okay, any more public comment?
My name is Scott Gassaway. I am the Vice President of NAMI Nevada County, and I'm here representing our organization to advise you that we have been on board with this model, the co-responding model, and we believe it is exceptionally important, and I wish everybody who's spoken before hadn't taken up all the points that I intended to make. And a lot of the stories that I've heard are NAMI family stories, because mental illness does impact the family, the families of the people who experience the mental challenges. There was another member of our team who intended to speak today, who has a son with a serious mental illness. He contacted me early this morning to indicate that he's ill and couldn't be here. But he is exceptionally appreciative of the co-responding teams and the help that they've provided to his family. He's a retired Marine colonel, and he needs and has needed help with his family. And there are many aspects to this model, the co-responding team model, that provides advantage to the families of people with serious mental illness. And one word has been used today, but I think it needs to be emphasized, is de-escalation. It's a word that we don't commonly use in our everyday discussions, but de-escalating crises within a family, when a family is not easily able to handle the issues of a mental health crisis, is exceptionally important, because the family is the basis, the primary basis for support of people with mental illnesses. And keeping that family unit together, resolving their disputes, de-escalating the situation so that both the family and the ill person can be focused and directed towards appropriate support services is very important. And again, I would reiterate what other people have said today, which I really appreciate and really hit home. These are NAMI stories, and we want to make them Nevada County stories as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any final comments? Okay, we're going to close public comment, bring it back to the board, unless there's any other comments. We don't have to take any action. We don't need any action.
I just wanted to say one.
Okay.
Just a thank you to our behavioral health team and also to NAMI and the work that you guys put into this. Of course, thanks to you guys too.
Thank you so very much for this presentation, and thank you to your teams. I'm sure you want to get back out there and do your work today. Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break, so we'll be back here at 10:45 for our next presentation. our next item. We're going to have an informational presentation on the CARE Act. And I understand that Phoebe is available online. Let's see if we can pull her up there. And we also have Ryan and Carrie here to speak to the issue.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you. Is that?
I am a mysterious voice.
Okay, so this is the way we're good doing it, Carissa and team? We're good? Okay, all right. Will you be the voice in the screen? Phoebe, go ahead.
Perfect, thank you so much. Good morning, Vice Chair Hall and members of the board. Thanks so much for having us here today. I'm here with Carrie Klein, our public defender. We're going to be tag teaming this a bit, but we wanted to share with you the fact that CARE Court or the CARE Act will be going live in Nevada County on December 1st. You want to go to the next slide there, Carrie? So you may have heard a fair bit about the CARE Act via newspapers and the press, et cetera. This got a lot of attention from the administration as well as the legislature. It really was pushed out as sort of one of many solutions to resolving homelessness in California. And while we think there's a lot of sort of overhype of what CARE Court can do, on the flip side, we are hopeful about being able to use the CARE Act appropriately in Nevada County to help some folks who are struggling and need more support. So in its ideal form, I think when implemented correctly, it will be another avenue for providing compassionate care to folks who are in need. Next slide, Carrie. So want to give a little bit of context to CARE Court and what it is and how it fits, it fits into the picture. One really important thing to know about CARE Court, it's got the word court in it, so it sounds potentially troubling or like somebody's in trouble. But in actuality, CARE Court is a civil court. And so you can see it over here on the right. This is a list of all the different treatment courts or collaborative courts that are operational in Nevada County. Lots of partners help make all of these happen, including the public defender, district attorney, the courts, obviously, probation, et cetera. So we have a number of criminal court processes for people who have a criminal offense and can be diverted into some kind of treatment court. But CARE Court is a civil court, so there's no risk of jail if somebody doesn't participate in the court. It's simply a pathway very similar to Laura's Law, or assisted outpatient treatment, for a different strategy for trying to get somebody to engage in treatment. Next slide. So who is CARE Court meant for? There's some pretty specific criteria, and I think this is one of the places where CARE Court was sort of overpromised. I think if you just read the news about CARE Court, you would sort of have the impression that anybody who's clearly experiencing homelessness and not appearing to be well, clearly struggling with mental health or substance use or something like that, might be a candidate for CARE Court. But in actuality, to be eligible to CARE Court, you need a very specific diagnosis of schizophrenia or schizophrenia spectrum disorder. And so that's pretty specific criteria. In addition, it's meant for adults, so 18 or older, somebody who's not engaged in voluntary treatment, not doing well that way. And then generally speaking, somebody who's not surviving well in community, staying safe, and their condition is substantially deteriorating. And really, there's a pretty strong belief that if some kind of intervention doesn't happen, some type of worse outcome is likely to occur. Next slide, Carrie. So a key question that a lot of people have about CARE Court is, so how does this work? If I'm worried about somebody, who can start the process? And it's called filing a petition, and I'll explain more about what that process is. But this is an important piece to know. One of the ways that CARE Court is different from Laura's Law is the pool of people who can file a petition, who are eligible to be petitioners, is much broader. So mental health professionals, but family members, people that live with we'll call them the respondent, the person that's being petitioned about. So roommates can petition, first responders, including law enforcement, hospital staff, including emergency department staff, are all viable petitioners, which again is more broad than under Laura's Law. Next slide there, Carrie. Thank you. So how does it work? Say you have a family member you're really worried about, and you believe that they meet the criteria and you want to get some help to them. So there's 2 forms that a person would fill out. The first one is called the Care 100 form, and it's basically a somewhat lengthy document that you answer a bunch of questions, and generally speaking, kind of anybody that knows somebody well would be able to answer those questions. You're describing sort of what you see going on for the person, why you're concerned, as well as much contact info you have about the person, et cetera. And you can also go, our court has a self-help center, and they will be ready to help people with petitions. So that's one of the places people can go to get support if they want to file a petition. Also, our local NAMI chapter has really stepped up and educated themselves a lot about how this process works and about filling out the petitions specifically. And so I know they're very willing to help family members as well. The second part of petitioning is a little bit more challenging. You need a licensed clinician to sign off on what's called the Care 101 form. And basically, you're saying as a licensed clinician that either you've given this person a diagnosis of schizophrenia or you believe they meet the criteria. And I think this is one of the challenging places for some of our partners to be petitioners, like our law enforcement partners or hospital staff, because you need that clinician partner in the process. But if you get both those forms filled out, you then file them with the Nevada County Superior Court. Next slide there, Carrie. And then that sort of launches the care court process. And I will say this is a sort of very simplified version of the process, but it's a pretty complex legal process that then ensues. So all those petitions are turned into the court, the judge looks at them, and if they meet kind of the high level criteria, right age, live in the right place, they've got all the forms filled out, the court then sends the petition to behavioral health. And we then have 14 days to go out and find the person and engage them in conversation and figure out if they're going to voluntarily agree to treatment and services, or if not, if they will then agree to come to court with us to begin a care court process. And I'll just flag that this chapter is one of the complex parts of this process, in that if the person is not known to behavioral health prior to getting the petition, building enough relationship and rapport with the person to convince them to come to court with us will likely be challenging. And that's certainly what we've heard in the many other counties who've been implementing care court ahead of us, is that it takes much longer than 14 days for that initial process to happen. But in the ideal world, you convince the person to engage voluntarily in treatment and services. In either case, behavioral health goes back to court and either says we have a voluntary treatment plan, or we're here with the person, we want some hearings. They also get, Carrie will talk more about the public defender support that they receive. But one way or another, we come to some kind of agreement or plan. If it's a court monitored plan, then we have hearings over the course of 1 to up to 2 years, during which the person's adherence to the plan is monitored. And I guess I want to also be clear, part of the role of the court is to make sure that behavioral health is providing the services and supports that person needs. Next slide, Carrie, which is a good lead into, so what is in that plan? What's it all about? And I think this is another one of the areas where sort of the high level press version of CARE Act was, again, a little bit misleading. I think a lot of people initially heard if somebody ends up in care court, they will be given housing. And housing is a part of the treatment plan, but housing as resources allow, basically. And so, if we had lots and lots of empty beds, this would be a great strategy for sort of encouraging people to use those beds. But the reality is we don't have lots of empty beds. We have 0 empty beds. So when somebody comes into care court, we will certainly be prioritizing them for access to safe places to sleep as we look at sort of the array of options. But it doesn't have any funding or capacity to create new housing options. The care plan also will include a treatment plan, and with a variety of services potentially embedded in that. And then we'll also outline other support services that the person needs, whether that's access to Medi-Cal benefits or food or documents they may need, things like that. So ideally, it's a pretty comprehensive plan that will really help that person get to a place of stability and well-being. Next slide, Carrie.
So I think this
And
is
so
where
at this point, I'm going to Yeah,
am I taking
exactly.
over here? So I'm going to take
Yep,
over
you're
here.
good,
And the
Carrie.
key counties who've been involved in setting up the care court process in Nevada County are behavioral health. They have absolutely taken lead and had the biggest burden in developing our care court and the care plans. Also, my office and county council. My office is involved because we're involved in civil mental health proceedings. When we are in those proceedings, generally county council is the advocate on the other side. So public defenders and mental health, you guys have heard tons about how we are involved in the criminal system, from mental health diversion to mental health court to incompetent to stand trial diversion to incompetent to stand trial who are sent to the Department of State hospitals. But we have a huge civil mental health practice also. And we start with Laura's Law, assisted outpatient treatment. Up till care court, this has been the lowest level of treatment in the civil legal area. And we also do Reese hearings, which are generally for our incarcerated clients where they are being involuntarily medicated. But it is considered a civil hearing. A lot of times it's in front of an administrative law judge or an administrator at a hospital. And then we do conservatorships. We've been doing all of these for years and years and years, and at Laura's Law, I think 2009, and that's our most recent. But care court's new to us, and it is actually a lower level from our perspective than assisted outpatient treatment, and that's because somebody's participation in care court is 100% voluntary. Even in assisted outpatient treatment, while it is sort of voluntary, you can force someone to be evaluated. Care court can't do that. There is no enforcement mechanism. We are trying to get people to voluntarily agree to be in court and to try and address their challenges and issues. So how is it going to be funded? For behavioral health, they have special rates for things that aren't billable to Medi-Cal, but in all likelihood, that is not going to cover their costs. For my office, we have funding of $60,000 for this year, starting, I think it's 2025, January 2025 through December of 2025. And that is given to us through the state bar, through their, they have when you're a civil lawyer, you have to have trust accounts. You pay interest, the banks pay interest on those trust accounts. That interest historically goes to the state bar. It's just by statute. The state bar is using those funds in order to fund public defenders' offices and what are called qualified legal service organizations, which are doing care court respondents counsel in some counties. For county council, there's no funding. For our funding, we have 11 pages of reporting that we have to do on it back to the state bar for things that we have never reported on before, and we're trying to work with our case management company in order to develop some reports that'll make it easier for us. Otherwise, it's going to be Excel spreadsheets and counting dots. What we know about care court implementation from other counties is there have been a lot fewer petitions than expected and very few plans ordered. In care court, there are two ways to have someone engage in treatment. One is a care plan, that is a court-ordered plan. One is a care agreement. That's the person agreeing to the care, and it is not court-ordered. Lots of people are engaging in services voluntarily, so there are many care agreements, but not care plans. We are seeing that the petitions tend to come from family members and behavioral department health staff, and the acuity of people referred is very high. Outreach and engagement phases are very lengthy. Way longer than what is anticipated by the legislation. I'm also going to point out, and Phoebe doesn't have it on this, the cohort one counties are counties that historically haven't really fully embraced things like assisted outpatient treatment. I kind of expect numbers to be higher in Nevada County than we are seeing in the cohort 1 counties, and that is in part because of that. I mean, you look at a county like Orange County, and we actually sort of match them on how many AOT petitions we have per year, in that they have 5, and I think we have 6 on average. So, and they're a gigantic county. It's just how your counties engage in these sorts of services, and Nevada County historically has fully embraced everything we can to treat our community members, in particular in the behavioral health arena. Our behavioral health department has really focused on trying to make people's lives better, and in part by embracing these sorts of policies and procedures and opportunities. It has kept people out of the criminal legal system. So for me, I think it's fantastic. And we have spent a lot of time planning for this. In particular, behavioral health has spent a lot of time planning for this, and we're ready to go live December 1st. And we're sort of waiting to see what happens and how this works. I think a lot of us are really excited to see it be effective. So if you have any questions for us.
Okay. Phoebe, did you have anything more you wanted to add to that presentation?
No, thanks tons, Carrie. And I think the only other thing I'll say is our courts have been really critical partners, of course, as well. And we've gone so far as to all meet in the courtroom and do mock walkthroughs of different scenarios. So I feel like, thankfully in our county, we have such strong working collaborative relationships that we've been able to do the planning fairly painlessly. And also that we had a really strong AOT process to build upon, which gave us a lot of framework to work from. So I'm really hopeful that this will be used well and appropriately in our county, and excited that we will have it as an option.
Okay, thank you. Seems a lot more understandable today than it did originally when we were scoping out what it might look like. So I'm going to turn over to Sue for any comments or questions.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I mean, it's a long time getting here, so good job, everybody, pulling that together. I'm going to be interested, like, our court system seems so backed up all the time. What's the plan for that?
So our civil court and our civil mental health arena is not backed up. Those cases take priority. They take priority over criminal cases even.
Okay, yeah, that's what I just kind of curious, because they need to have action. You get people that really want to decide, and you want to catch them in that decide mode and get them moving forward.
Yes, but I mean, what we've historically seen, and we saw this with AOT, is that it takes some time to get people engaged and involved. And while, 14 days is like pie in the sky, wow, that would be awesome. I think it's a little bit unrealistic to believe that our behavioral health staff can find somebody and meet with them enough times to get them engaged in 14 days. I suspect that proceedings in the beginning will be a little bit slow. And I mean, in that, once a petition is filed that is legally sufficient, my office gets appointed, and sometimes that's helpful because we can also talk to somebody and try and encourage them to engage with behavioral health staff. Sometimes it's not helpful because it's more of the government coming at somebody. In which case we hope that behavioral health will tell us to step back so that they can do what they need to do. It is always helpful if someone engages voluntarily versus in an adversarial process.
Right. No, that sounds good. And then I guess my question for Phoebe is, are you staffed up for the extra work here on this?
We are not 100% sure. We basically decided that because the volume in other counties has been lower than expected, that we're just going to start doing it and see what the impacts are. I think the two places that are challenging are, again, that outreach and engagement phase, which can be lengthy and takes a lot of staff time and capacity. And then the court phase. We are not able to bill Medi-Cal when our staff goes to court, and that's billing Medi-Cal is how we, survive. And so there's a lot of court appearances associated with care court, and so that's the other place we'll really need to be watching sort of what that's doing to both our fiscal sustainability and our staff capacity.
So one other question, we just saw a great presentation for what's working out with the sheriff's department with our crisis teams. How will that interject with this program, or could it?
Sure. I think both the sheriff's crisis team and our 24/7 mobile crisis team may have contact with folks who aren't yet engaged with our behavioral health outpatient services. And so when we get a petition on somebody, typically we start trying to figure out who knows this person, where are they, who has connection. And so it could be that one of the mobile crisis teams has connection with the person, and they might be the sort of relationship builder for us.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Well, it'll be interesting. I'm hoping for a positive outcome as you roll this out on the 1st to all of you. Thank you, Carrie and Phoebe and your whole teams. Ed?
Yeah, you said it's been a long time coming, but it doesn't seem like it was that long. It seemed like to put together a program like this, I'm amazed that you got it to where you did.
I agree.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're just going to have to start implementing this to see just how well it's going to work. I'm sure you've asked all the questions in-house. It does seem to me where everything needs to be 100% volunteer. Maybe we didn't give it the right name. Because I would think, nah, I'm not going into court. No, thank you. I just wish you the very best of luck. I think great program, hopefully.
Thank you.
Lisa?
Thank you. I have a few questions, I think probably for Phoebe. Phoebe, based on your current caseloads, how many people in our community do you think are going to be eligible for this program, or that you're going to be able to serve with it? And just I'm not going to hold you to it, just kind of ballpark.
I think that there's, less than 50 people out there in the county at large who might be a good fit for care court at some point, probably not all at once. And I think some of those folks are people who are experiencing homelessness, and many of them are on our radar, and we've just struggled with different ways of trying to engage them. And so this is something we may try for some of them. And then I'm certain there's some people out there who aren't on our radar, sort of the adult child of a family living at home, but not doing well in terms of their mental health and really struggling, and the family struggling. Those types of referrals, the other counties that went live first have seen a lot of those sort of family member referrals. And those folks may not have been on our radar at all because they're, relatively stable in the sense that they're housed. And so I have less of a clear idea of how many people that would be. We've been working with one of our partner consultants on trying to project out volume because it's cumulative. If we get 5 referrals a month, but 4 of them end up with cases of some kind or another, slowly you can build up to a pretty high caseload over time. So that's one of the things we'll certainly be watching.
Thanks. And schizophrenia is the only diagnosis that's served by care court. Did I hear that correctly? Okay.
Yes, exactly.
And then when you say a licensed clinician, is that a psychiatrist or a licensed social worker? Who can actually do the diagnosis? Does it have to be a doctor or a medical professional?
No, a licensed mental health professional can do it. A doctor could as well, but licensed social worker, marriage and family therapist.
So it's not dependent just on a psychiatric referral, because I know we don't have a huge amount of psychiatric care in our county. And then just my final question, when you say lots of people have gone in voluntarily, what is lots? Can you give a percentage, 10%, 20%?
My understanding is the vast majority of the care petitions have resulted in a care agreement, which is a voluntary agreement, versus a care plan, which is a court-ordered plan. We sent a team to a training, and I don't remember what number they came up with, but it was astounding how many people agreed versus needing a court order.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, I wish you luck with the bringing people into the system, because it sounds like it could help get a certain percentage of people that need this help off the streets, which I think, especially with the homeless population, I think that that's really important. It's unfortunate that there's not other mental illness diagnoses that will be considered under this, because I know people who, are not schizophrenic, but have serious mental illness problems that will probably be served. So maybe they'll broaden the scope of it after the whole thing comes out and people are doing it. So, thank you.
But, but what I would say to that is there are alternatives, and there are things like Laura's Law, which might work for somebody who wouldn't, where care court they don't meet those qualifications.
Good to know there's other programs. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I have two questions. First, keying off of Sue's good question about the mobile crisis team, wondering if there's also, are they educated on this issue? Could they then become, what do you call them, petitioners, folks who make the reference? I mean, it seems like they might be seeing a different population out there than you guys are.
Yeah, a mobile crisis team member could, either half of the team, the law enforcement side or the mental health clinician side, could make a referral, or the mobile crisis teams that the county behavioral health department operates. Any of those folks could. I think that in addition to needing to file all the paperwork, the petitioner needs to come to the first hearing as well. And so depending on, that's been a barrier in some other counties for example, law enforcement, like beat officers or hospital frontline staff, because the hearing might be scheduled for 3 Tuesdays from now, and that might be your day off, or those kinds of things. So I think sometimes what I imagine will happen is it will lead to more dialogue, like phone calls from hospital staff or our mobile crisis team saying, we're really worried about so-and-so. We've been out 3 or 4 times, pretty sure they have schizophrenia. I think we should think about them for care court, and we might work collaboratively with behavioral health, perhaps ultimately filing the petition and doing the legal side of the process. But that's more what I expect, is phone calls like that.
Okay, so I guess my point there would just make sure that they're educated on this piece as well, so they know that they can reach out on that one. So,
yeah, good point.
Yeah, great. And then my second question is, I know some of the things that have come down from the governor's office lately have this punitive side. So I'm wondering if there's anything like that here. Like, is he going to be expecting certain numbers or percentages? Or are there going to be penalties associated with, not meeting numbers? What's the picture there?
Yeah, it's a good point. I didn't highlight that in the presentation, but care court does have some pretty strong punitive language towards county behavioral health specifically in it. So the court could find the county out of compliance with meeting our obligations, either in terms of engaging people who get petitioned or in terms of providing adequate care plan aspects, both on the treatment side and on the housing side. And those sanctions can be financial. We have a very positive, strong working relationship with our courts and our justice system partners. So I'm not envisioning that being an issue. I think the idea is that courts understand reasonable problems, like, hey, the only address we have for this person is the woods somewhere, off North San Juan or whatever, that's going to not be an easy actionable thing. But equally much, we need to meet the obligations of the law, and our plan is to do so. But there could be consequences if we did not.
Okay,
I'll address it from Respondents' Council side. So numbers were low enough where the governor cut funding 65% from the cohort 1 first year to the second year.
Okay, so is there going to be an avenue to push back on the requirements for the 14-day window? Because I'm guessing that would help the situation. Is there a way to have them make a change on that to give you better opportunity to meet those numbers?
The court, if efforts are being made, the court can give behavioral health more time. So it's more if the behavioral health walks in after 14 days and goes, well, we looked at the petition, the court rightfully can say you haven't done enough. But behavioral health has never done that. Instead, they usually can walk in and say, and we made 17 efforts to try and reach this person, but they are living in the forest up in North San Juan, and that's the only address we have. So we sent people up there, and we've talked to the home team, and we've talked to Mobile Crisis, and we're looking for the person.
Okay, all right. Well, I think it's good, important for us to know that, and if either of you experience staffing issues to meet all this stuff, please be sure to let us know.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't think either of us shy away from that.
Yeah, true. All right, I'm going to open it up for, I'll come back to the board for additional questions, but I just want to open it up for public comment first. Any public comments? Any callers, Madam Clerk?
No, no callers.
Okay, let's close public comment. Any additional questions up here at the board? Any more? Okay, then I think there's no action needed on this either, so thank you all very much for this good presentation. Very helpful to keep us up to date on this.
Thank you for your attention.
Right.
Thanks so much.
Okay, we're going to move on to an action needed item. Public Works Director for resolutions awarding contracts for the Dog Bar Road over Bear River Bridge Replacement Project, the Hirschdale Road over Truckee River Bridge Replacement Project, and the Hirschdale Road at Hinton Overhead Rehabilitation Project, and approving construction management contracts for the project. So I think I'm turning it over to David Garcia and Pat Perkins. Let me just note for us that you're going to go through a presentation for all four of the actions. We're going to ask our questions on all four of the actions, and at the end, we'll take action on all four of them. That's the plan.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay, then take it away. Thank you.
Thank you again, David Garcia, your Public Works Director. Very happy to introduce Pat Perkins, our Principal Civil Engineer and our Road Commissioner. He and his team have been working on these projects for several years and gotten us through many, many hurdles to get us to where we are today. So we're very excited to be at this stage where we're talking about awarding these bridge projects. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Pat.
Thank you, David. Good morning, board members. Once again, we're here to talk about some of our bridge projects. I know we've talked about the Hirschdale Bridge projects as well as the Dog Bar Overcrossing Bridge project multiple times. Fortunately, we're at a position right now where today we are coming to you asking you to award the construction contracts. So we have 2 construction contracts before you as well as 2 construction management contracts before you. As I mentioned, these are the 3 bridges. One thing I would mention is that the 2 bridges up in Eastern County, which are the Hinton Union Pacific Railroad Overcrossing and the Truckee River Project, we bid those together as one separate contract. One of the reasons that we did that was for economy of scale, and plus the fact that the bridges are located so close to each other, it just made sense to go ahead and group those. So although you're seeing 3 bridges, there are only 2 contracts. This is a quick map showing where the bridges are located. On the far right side of the map, that is up in Eastern County, up on Hirschdale Road, we have 2 bridges. One is the actual bridge over the Truckee River, and the other, as we mentioned a moment ago, is the Hinton Overcrossing. Down on the lower portion of the map is the Dog Bar Road Bridge, and that is in southern part of the county, and that is the bridge that runs from Dog Bar Road and joins Placer County to Nevada County. These are our bid costs that we got in. As you can see, we've got the 3 separate bridges. Viking Construction was the low bidder for the Dog Bar Bridge project. Their bid came in at just over $10 million. Myers & Sons was the low bidder for the Truckee River and Hinton. Again, those bridges were bid together. One thing I wanted to point out on this that's a little bit unusual is that when we put these bridge projects together, when we did the original design, we came up with an estimate that was considerably lower than what the bid cost came in at. And one of the reasons for that, or several of the reasons for that, we put the estimate, or the engineer's estimate, together approximately 2 years ago, and that's when that information was funneled to Caltrans. Over the past 2 years, as we've worked through the various design issues, we worked our design from roughly 50% at that time up to 100% design plans. the project expanded, there was a lot of input from Caltrans regarding specific design criteria. We had a lot of input from Caltrans, again, on our DBEs, as well as a significant amount of environmental work that was put into the project. So when these bids came in, although they came in substantially higher, we knew that they were going to come in higher. We had mentioned this to Caltrans prior to the bids going out this last summer. Caltrans indicated that they did not want us to change the engineer's estimate. They said, go ahead, go out to bid, let's see what the real world costs are. And when those bids came in, they came in pretty close to what we thought was going to happen. One of the nice things that we've been able to do, I've had a very strong input from our staff, and our staff has really done a good job. So as far as getting the funds for this project, not only did we receive the $10.7 million in construction costs in the summer, over the last 2+ months, we've been successful in negotiating an additional $17 million for a total of just under $28 million for these structures. So really put in a lot of effort over a lot of time, and we're ready to get out to bid. The dog bar bridge here, a little bit complicated or convoluted drawing, if you call it that. Dog Bar Road comes down and it drops straight across right here across the Bear River and then into Placer County. The plan for this bridge is to come in, build a secondary bridge in basically a horseshoe shape as I've outlined here. Then after that's done, we'll come in and we'll remove the old bridge. This is an outline of the Truckee River Bridge up in Eastern County. The Truckee River Bridge is going to be removed. We'll build a temporary bridge, and then we're going to build the new bridge in exactly the same spot as the old bridge. Just off the edge of the paper is the Hinton Overcrossing. I didn't show that, as that's not a true removal. We're just going to be doing rehabilitation on that particular bridge. Project timeline on all three of these structures is approximately the same. Ideally, we'll get these contracts awarded or be ready to award today. The environmental or preliminary environmental work may take place sometime between now and April. Depends on the weather. We've got an awful lot of weather coming in right now, so we don't anticipate much getting done. But contractors may be able to get in between now and the 1st of April to do a little bit of vegetation management and/or prep for some of the environmental issues such as bats. We've got swallow issues and things like that, so there'll be a little bit of work done, but primarily the work's really going to kick off in April. As I mentioned, all three of these bridges are on roughly the same timeline. We expect them to be completed around the fall of 2026. Some of the design parameters I just kind of wanted to point out at this point is that Caltrans, as I mentioned, is funding this project, and all of these funds come through what's called the Highway Bridge Program, or the HBP program. And Caltrans is very specific about what they will pay for this. This particular program will not pay for anything other than specific bridge projects. I'd mentioned that some of the costs had gone up on the bridges that were going through design. We had to really reevaluate and redesign portions of the bridge just so we could get Caltrans to pay for them. They don't want to pay for any of the asphalt on the edges of where you tie in the bridge to the roads. They don't want to pay for rock stabilization. There's a lot of things that they just don't want to pay for. It's really strictly related to bridges. However, that being said, when we worked through that, there were a couple of items that we were able to incorporate. One of the items that we've got in the project is a staircase that's going to be adjacent to the Truckee River Bridge, and that's going to be on the east side of the bridge to try to facilitate recreation, folks that are either rafting, fishing, et cetera, things like that. So at least they've got access down to the river. So while we couldn't get Caltrans to pay for that particular one, the county is paying for that particular item, and so we're doing our best to try to incorporate recreation in. Our two items that we've got is there is a current trail under the Nevada County side of the Dog Bar Bridge. We're going to be able to rebuild that and put that back in place. So again, it's rafters, tubers, things like that. As they're doing their activities, they'll have the same facilities that they had when we're done. On both projects, there will be a zero net loss of parking. And as I mentioned, we're not able to increase the parking, but what we can do to try to facilitate future recreation is we can build these projects such that when future recreation comes through, the bridge is built so that we can accommodate those future projects to the best of our ability. So what we can't do with this project, we can certainly set ourselves up for success if and when additional recreation projects come through. I did want to mention that all three bridges are included in the county's recreation master plan, but again, this is really a bridge project. We're setting ourselves up for future recreation, and that's kind of the way that we've moved forward with these. And at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Ed.
It's exciting. This one has taken a long time. Yeah, you kind of answered my questions on parking and the recreational part of it. And, you know, the key thing is getting that bridge built. Looking at such things as evacuations out of the Lake of the Pines area, that's going to be a key. I'd like to see Placer County do a bit more with the road on the other side, but still, this is a huge part of it. And the fact that you are looking at the recreation part of it, and if the board's able to do more with those kind of projects, then you've got the ability, you've got the places for more parking. I was kind of hoping more parking would come out of this project, but that's apparently not the case, right?
We definitely tried, particularly down at the dog bar area, just because the road is so narrow through that area. We did have some discussions with NID. NID was the major landowner down there, and they've allowed us to get some temporary construction easements for staging and things like that, where potentially in the future that could either be purchased or some sort of recreation project by the county to go in and try to increase parking. But at this point, we're not able to do that, but again, it is a possibility for the future.
And we're not really doing anything with this that's enhancing the recreational aspect, right? So, I mean.
So, Chair Hall, Supervisor Schofield, so this will be an item at your board workshop to look at how can we leverage this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
How we can leverage this opportunity for future recreation. It will need either additional grant funding or county dollars, and so we'll need that policy direction. But staff has done an excellent job in terms of looking at the bridge programs and planning ahead to make sure it's in alignment with our recreation master plan.
That's wonderful, yeah. And the bridge is the key, so thank you so much for the work you guys have done on it, Pat.
You're welcome.
Lisa? No questions? Sue?
No questions. It has been long, and I just can't imagine how nice it'll be not to have another truck stuck on the bridge. That's like an ongoing thing with GPS sending our big trucks. So, and that's a danger, actually, if we had evacuation. So looking forward to no more, and I'm sure those truck drivers are looking forward to it, too.
Can't believe everything that Google tells you.
Yeah, exactly. No, good job.
Still don't encourage it, though, right? The big trucks.
All right, great. And yeah, I think this is great progress. And I also really appreciate that you're working to incorporate the recreation plans with what you're doing now. The timing is so perfect on all of these bridge projects to incorporate recreation. So thank you for doing what you can on that. Yeah. No questions from me. So I'm going to open it up for public comment. And Madam, keep wanting to say Madam Chair. Madam Clerk, any phone calls on this one?
No callers.
Okay, close public comment and bring it back to the board. And I am going to be looking for a motion and a second on 4 different actions, so separately. So I'd like a call for a motion and a second to adopt the resolution, let me see. Resolution awarding the contract for the Dog Bar Road over Bear River Bridge Replacement Project.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second.
District 2?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
And District 5 is absent.
Thank you. And now I'm looking for a motion for a resolution approving a contract between the County of Nevada and HDR Construction Control Corporation, Inc. for construction management and inspection services for the Dog Bar Road over Bear River Bridge Replacement Project.
So moved.
Yep. Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded?
District 2?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
And District 5 is absent.
Okay, and then why do I have 4 on this cheat sheet? Are there 4? Yes. Okay, so now looking for a motion for a resolution awarding the contract for the Hirschdale Road over Truckee River Bridge. Moved and seconded?
District 2?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 5 is absent.
Thank you. Okay, and the final resolution approving a contract between the County of Nevada and HDR Construction Control Corporation, Inc. for construction management and inspection services for the Hurstdale Road over Truckee River Bridge Replacement Project.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
District 2?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 1?
Yes.
District 5 is absent.
Great. Thank you so much, gentlemen. All right, so we are a little bit ahead of time. We are going to do announcements, so get your head around that for a moment. And then we're going to go into a closed session, and I'll need a couple of you to come back with me at 1:30 to just end the meeting. And for anyone listening, a reminder that our previously planned 1:30 item on tiny homes has been canceled and rescheduled for tentatively for January 14th. So who would like to do announcements first?
Yeah, we don't have to wait till 1:30, do we?
Yeah, we have to come back to close out from our closed session.
Yeah, but we can
Some-
close it when we're done, right?
I'll look to advice from county council.
If you can come back after your closed session and report out, that's fine. You don't need to wait till 1:30 if you don't want to do that, as long as you make that announcement ahead of time. We don't normally come back during the lunch hour, but.
Okay, all right, yeah, I mean, as long as people understand that we're not going to be here at 1:30, so, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, thank you. Who would like to start with announcements? Okay.
Yeah, I don't have much at all, just, we did our last Transportation and Transit Services Commission meeting. Wasn't a heck of a lot on the agenda. I got a nice plaque.
It was good.
It was?
Transportation or transit?
Well, both.
Well, transit, you better just take the buses running on your schedule.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, getting back to that 30-minute turnover on Route 1, Grass Valley to Nevada City, that's been one of my main things. And Robin was able to do that. In fact, he gave me a plaque with a picture of the bus on it. So that was really nice. And then the other one was the Hardy through sign language yesterday did the air quality meeting, and that was quite interesting. We had a couple projects that Bear Yuba Land Trust came in with a project for continuation on bridges, the Bailey Trail, and the other one, I don't know what the name of it is, but looking at some point connectivity to the Lytton Trail, and a great project. A project that came out of Human Resources here, Steve Rose, that I wasn't even familiar with it, is a carpool purchase of a vehicle that will be bringing in some of our folks from outside of the area. I think it started at the Elk Grove area. It's a fairly substantial project, and the Air Quality Board had a bit of contribution that we could make into that project. I really liked the idea. Sounded like we had 4 or 5 people that could utilize that. And the other one was Amy Coffin was representing Chirp, and some of the projects they're doing out on the new piece of property off of, the Nissan project off of, what is that road? Yeah, it's the John
Off of
Woolman
Jones
property,
Bar.
so. It was quite interesting. Oftentimes, we have not enough money to go around for the applications that come in. And this time, we were fortunate that, I think 2 years in a row, we've been fortunate that we've been able to award all the applications that have come in. So that was a very good meeting yesterday. And the only other comment I want to make was, the content of this meeting today really gives you a feel for the types of programs that are going on in the county, and how we're dealing with a lot of some pretty serious programs in our county. And I was impressed today with the presentations, all of them. It was very good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So lots of meetings the last couple of weeks. I met with the Contractors Association, just the executive director, to hear some of their plans for next year. I had a tour of the Western Sierra Medical Facility, and I have not been over there actually since they did their grand opening when they opened, so really impressed with the work that they're doing. They have over 3,000 people on a patient waiting list. I was shocked by that. And that's not just in Nevada County, because they also have some offices in Placer County, but I'm sure that that's a pretty substantial number of people for our community. I attended the Ad Hoc Fire Committee meeting along with Supervisor Hook. We did the Citizens Academy graduation last week, some really great questions that were asked from the participants. And there was it was a good group of people. It was a lot of different perspectives, I think, in that group. So I was impressed with what they did, and I think they were impressed after going through the 10 weeks with what the county does. I had a meeting last week with the city and the county and with Ryan and Phoebe from Behavioral Health, talking about some potential projects in the city. And then I was briefed on what's going on with the animal shelter. Hopefully we're going to have more information coming to the full board in January. Really excited about the work they've done. They've done they really listened, and they've done a great job putting the plan together. I gave a little brief talk at the new employee hire last week, which is always fun. It's so great to see so many new people coming to our community and their stories and why they're here. A lot of young people, which was really exciting. I got to attend the mayor-manager meeting last week because Heidi and Hardy were out of town. We had LAFCO last Thursday, where the LAFCO board approved all the MSRs for the fire departments. So they've been working on that for a long time. It was a big step. I think I was on LAFCO the last time they did it in the mid-2000s. So it was a big project. I had a meeting yesterday with Mike Stewart, the fire chief up in the little town of Washington, getting some information. He invited me to come up for a tour. I told him when the weather was better, I would be up there. And then last night, I had the honor of serving at the Wildland Firefighter Dinner that they do every year at the Golden Arrow. Big success. They had a lot of people. They raise a lot of money for that group. It's nice to see all the firefighters come out to support it, as well as the 2 police chiefs and our sheriff were there serving as well. So, and then one final thing, I meet monthly with the city of Grass Valley, and yesterday they were talking to me a little bit about, they received a $13 million grant to do the completion of the Wolf Creek Trail. And the city manager was telling me that potentially there's an opportunity to do some work to continue the trail to connect with Nevada City, which is something that the Bear Yuba Land Trust and I think Grass Valley, Nevada City have been working on for a long time. So there's going to be an opportunity to, I think, extend the trail not just into Grass Valley, but hopefully to do some connection with Nevada City. So I thought that was really exciting. And that's going to be an interesting project because there's some right-of-way that has to be acquired for it. So it'll be very interesting to see how the neighbors that it's kind of adjacent to, how that's going to work out. But I'm super excited. I know the small leg of the Wolf Creek Trail that's down behind Rayleigh's there is extremely popular with not just Grass Valley residents, but people drive in from all over and walk their dogs. And so lots of good stuff going on.
Oh, yeah, lots of meetings. It kind of has been that busy. So our ad hoc for RCRC, I'm on the Williams Neck ad hoc. We had a meeting that was really interesting. We had a presentation from, it was really interesting to talk about how different they're playing with solar into farming and different things in different parts of the country, actually growing in between. It was just an interesting little meeting, but it was kind of fun. But it's saying, and I just want to say transit and NCTC, Ed's given a lot of time there, so I thought that was really great. They honored you 16 years, and there's a lot of great projects that you've had a hand in as we go, like Dorsey Interchange and the improvements on Highway 49 and the new ones that are still coming. So it was really fun to see you honored for that a little bit more.
I thought the city was crazy on Dorsey Drive, but
I know.
Trish did a great job on that one.
I know, all the work that gets done, but so you've had your hand in a lot of projects going on Highway 20. So anyway, that was great. I had a great meeting about North San Juan Library. Our little library up there is very busy, and I want to thank the county that we do support that little library as a 501c3. We had a great recreation coalition meeting. A lot of team players were there, and stay tuned. They're looking at this recreation day that's going to happen here in the spring. So stay tuned. There's lots of great plans for that, just to really bring all the entities together that have to do with recreation in Nevada County, from sporting goods stores to events that happen, the teams that play here in this county. So really looking forward to see how that plays out. Citizens Academy was fun. I really did enjoy that. What a great group. It was fun to see some youth commissioners participating as well. I really liked that. You know, there are going to be our leaders here in the future. Had a fun morning with Allison and Kristen Eyes and Bree Bacon doing KNCO on talk about agriculture. That was a lot of fun. That is the fastest hour. It flies by. I can't believe how you could just talk all day and all of a sudden it's over. So, of course, Tom always does a fabulous job, and I'm going to tease Bree Bacon for a while because that was a kick. And, of course, Chris and I both wear wooden shoes because we're both Dutch. So Tom just doesn't miss a lick. I don't know how he thinks up things so quickly. Very excited about my Penn Valley Community Center. I met there with them the other night, and lots of great things moving forward there. All their studies are about done. They did a meeting with the community members that live in a vicinity, you know, to have, if there was questions or concerns about what was happening with the community center, just nothing but positive things at the meeting. So really happy to see that's moving forward. They're about ready to do their application, their final application into the county. So that's very exciting. And I wanted to thank Kimberly Parker there from Economic Development, came and sat through and had some great ideas. We had a good Yuba cohort meeting, first 5 meeting, lots of things going on. Western Gateway Park, I attended that meeting, and it was nice. I did a certificate and a challenge coin to Nancy Pierce, had her last meeting at Western Gateway Park, and just thank her for all of her years of dedication to making that premier Western Gateway Park continue to move forward. Looking forward to the new board members on there, and there's a lot of great things coming with the 2 grants that they received down there for some new playground equipment, and of course the new possibility of a bit of a trailer park there. So lots of good stuff with that. Went to Rough and Ready. I would tell you, sometimes when you have things that are a bit of a challenge in life, like the loss of your fire department, I mean, as we just talked about our ad hoc and the work that's going on with that, it was a realization for that little community they need to come back together. And so there's a lot of really exciting stuff happening in the little town of Rough and Ready. And so they have a Thursday night a month dinner at the firehouse. Their Grange is back and going and has their breakfast, and their chamber is getting reorganized. So lots of fun little stuff back in Rough and Ready. And then we also had a meeting, and George Schreck did a great job on the possibilities of what that change in housing with the Title 25 might be. And so they met again in Penn Valley and did that. And that probably sums it up enough for the time.
Okay, very good. I will add on some things. We've done some workshop planning for January, getting ready for our next, workshop, so that's going to be exciting. I had another Justice Public Service NACO call where they're focusing on community correction partnerships, which we just heard a little bit about, I think, the other day. So learning a lot there. We have a courthouse reuse committee has been meeting regularly. Thanks to Trish for doing an incredible job just keeping that moving, and it's all, everything seems to be on track right now. Had a wonderful Bear Yuba Land Trust grants breakfast where they gave a number of awards. I think a few of us were there, including Walter Hevlin is his last name, youth commissioner, and who's been involved in a number of things, and he got the youth award, which was great to see. He's very involved in the community. And then Richard, our previous Richard Anderson, our previous District 5's supervisor, also got an award. He was very excited about that. So the whole event, they're great awards. There's so much good work happening with the Bear Yuba Land Trust. Love that. I love that program. And then the biggest part of the week was at CSAC. We had our CSAC meeting down in Pasadena. Number of us were there giving presentations. So I presided over our Ag, Environment, Natural Resources group where we adopted our platform for the year. And the insurance working group, as part of that, we adopted new platform language and a new set of policy principles that CSAC can now advocate on insurance to make insurance more affordable and more available. We're making the pitch right now to continue that working group for one more year because the Hoover Commission just came out with 10 recommendations on insurance and went farther than we did. Plus, we want to see if Commissioner Lara's, all his promises that are starting January 1, if they work. And if not, we want to add some more policy proposals. Aaron Mettler was there and gave a really nice presentation on grants, grants work from Nevada County. Kit, our county council, was there and did a presentation on PRAs. Both of those were very well received. And Hardy was in attendance and went to a number of committees, is really getting himself connected so that he can take this over when I'm through. So that was, I feel like, a very productive and good conference. And let me see if our CEO wants to give out a report out.
Yeah, just a few additional updates. Continue to support Supervisor Bullock with his Eastern County stakeholder meetings. We've met with Sugar Bowl and Squad, the Land Trust, Hospital in Town, and the Consolidated Fire, and other community partners. And the meetings have been going very well. It's a great annual check-in to look at opportunities to align as well as service gaps in Eastern County. Along with Citizens Academy, we actually hosted Nevada County Leadership Institute and CCLI, and that is in partnership with Sierra College and Community of Nonprofit Leadership. Had a great session. I get to co-host this with Sean Grayson, the city manager of Nevada City, and we do a full day of talking about local government, and we had Supervisor Hall sit on the panel along with Hillary Hodge from Grass Valley and Gary Peterson from Nevada City, and that was a great panel. I've also participated in the Truckee Library JPA meeting last week, attended mayors and managers with Supervisor Swarthout. And then we met with the Arts Council, where we're looking at the end of their contract, which is 6 months, and then we'll be working with the budget subcommittee to be looking at, do we go out to RFP for the next year for another contract with a community provider? So that will be coming forward. We got an update from Consolidated Fire that the county's recreation grant to improve the parking lot up near 5 Mile House, they went out to bid and that was awarded to Hanson's Brothers. So work should be beginning on that soon. And then lastly, excuse me, we have a new lobby greeter, and this is a young man, Trevor Emery, and he's from Neighborhood Center for the Arts, and so he's going to be our lobby greeter on Thursday mornings, greeting constituents coming in for services. And he had his first day and is doing a fantastic job.
Very good. All right, did we have anybody else who wanted to report out? Okay.
One more thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Heidi. So I just want to bring up this to folks that are listening and if they could reach out. So AT&T has continued to be a challenge for me with my landlines issues. So I had a couple, and I want to give a shout out to Alice Perez's office. They did help me get those managed, and I found, they found ways to hook people's landlines back up. We are an area that needs our landlines still. So if you're out there and you are having problems or they've been challenging you to say, no, you can't have a phone, I want to hear about that. We want to help you through that process. It's challenging. What happens is the calls go out to a national call center that has no idea about what's happening in California, really. They just say, no, you can't do it. Well, that's not true. They are a carrier of last resort. And you can have your landline in Nevada County. And even though they're going to go to the CPUC and challenge us again, I mean, till that time, if you need your landline and you don't have good cell service, you got to push a little harder with them because you can have your landline at this time. So I'm going to put more of that. There'll be some more in my newsletter. We're going to do a little more push out on this. I just don't want you folks to be where you have no ability to call in emergencies or those types of things. So feel free to reach out. You can call my office. It can all get translated through our staff there or me directly. I know Heidi's district has worked on this, and I'm just not letting up on AT&T at this time until someday there will be better service here with broadband and those things. But until then, we need service. So just don't want to give up on that.
Thank you for Sue for reminding everybody of that. That's a very good point. I can push that out on my social media as well. Yeah, so hopefully folks heard that. Thank you. Okay, I think at this time we're going to adjourn or break for closed session.
Going to read out, and then we're going to
Yes.
ask for public comment.
Right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Hall. So pursuant to Government Code 54956.8, I'm requesting a closed session regarding the real property negotiations. The real property is as listed, as are the negotiators.
All right, thank you. We'll be back when we're done.
Any
public comment on that? No, any calls? Nope, public comments closed. Thank you. Okay. Kit, can you read us back out or in, whichever one it is?
Yes, so after meeting in closed session with the board, direction was given to staff.
Thank you, and this meeting is adjourned.